welcome to another episode of Creators Outlet, episode 134 to be exact. Brought to you, of course, by our friends over at the Inked Marketing Team. If you need a little extra help with your Kickstarter or Indiegogo, contact Kevin Gillette over at Inked Marketing and see what they can do for you. 30 plus years in the business. Speaking of Inked Marketing and Kickstarter, we want to bring your attention to the Kickstarter that is live right now, titled Another Me, for first-time creators from Armenia. For more on that, you can actually go through the playlist of Creators Outlet on the YouTube channel and watch the interview we had. But you can watch the world burn in this psychological thriller. We have to warn you, right from the start, it's dark madness. Come out and support these first-time creators and grab your copy at inked.pub/Another Me. And now we welcome RJ from Critical Blast to the show.
Welcome. Thank you, Will. Appreciate the invite.
I almost introduced the show as Critical Blast. I go, oh no, that's not my show. That's his show.
You're reading the logo.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's a wonderful birthday present to be a guest on somebody else's show instead of having to run my own tonight. I get to relax and just kind of keep my hands off the controls now.
Just relax and enjoy. Exactly. So I figure we'll talk about a whole bunch of stuff tonight and geek out a little bit probably. But I, of course, like I told you in the pre-show, I want to start out by talking about everything that you've done to help hundreds, if not thousands, of creators overseas get their product to the U.S. at better shipping rates for both people here in the States and the creators themselves.
Let's start out by being honest here. I did this to help me.
I'm sure. Well, I want to get my books cheaper. So exactly. What can I do?
Plus, I can make money at it. But I've interviewed enough people, and every time I interview a creator, Will, my superpower is spending other people's money. So I'll have somebody on say, hey, this shot you got right here, this would make a great sticker. Have you got stickers on your campaign? Or, here, this vertical panel here would be a great bookmark. Do you have bookmarks in your campaign? Do you know who to talk to for bookmarks? Hey, this would make a great action figure. It's already 3D. It's already got rotation. Why don't you go talk to this guy who prints 3D figures? And they do it. They go out and they put these things on their campaigns. But I started talking with folks in the UK and folks in, Australia and Canada. And I'd be like, man, this is a great book. What's the shipping on this? Like, well, I can't do anything about the shipping because, the rates are what they are. That's one thing we can't control. And I start to say, yeah, have you ever thought about, and it's like this little thing, mini me hopped up on my shoulder and said, will you shut up? This one's yours. You can do this one yourself. And I took like a weekend and started crunching numbers because I'm a 30-year IT guy. I've worked in several different industries, and many of them have been logistics industries. So I know enough of the business to be dangerous. And I started crunching the numbers. They're like, okay, well, what would it take to get books from the UK to me for redistribution? What would it take to get them from Australia? That can't be right because that's way too cheap. And I ran the numbers past other people in the business who, knew stuff. I'm like, what am I missing here? And they're like, well, nothing that we can see except you might be, not paying yourself enough. Like, but all I'm doing is putting something in a box. I think I'm paying myself. If you're happy with it, fine. So yeah, we launched it. We launched it for international creators, Will, because the whole point was to make the shipping cost cheaper so that they could sell more books. Too many people were seeing these great books, $20 book. Yeah, we'll pay $20 for a book. We wouldn't do it at the comic store, but we'll do it in crowdfunding. No problem. But, then it was like $25 shipping. We're like, oh, nope. I can't justify that. I'm out. People were backing away. But, and I'll share one right here if you'll allow me the privilege of doing so. This was our very first client. This is the company men, Dead, White, and Blue. This is coming from Blackbriar Press, but you probably know him better as the man called Kemosabe.
Oh yeah.
This is his book. It's a gorgeous book. It's the kind of book that, you know, people would have looked at and said, I want that book, but I can't afford that shipping. So if you, I'm going to go past the digital copy because we know what digital shipping is. It's nothing for that. Yeah. So here's the issue number one, physical and the digital. It's a $23 in US dollars. And we're like, okay, well, I want to get that. Let me see, I'm going to get that perk. Just to see, you know, how much I would have to really pay the arm and the leg for shipping on this thing. It's probably going to kill me. Calculate that shipping. I'm in the United States. Wait a second, something's wrong here because it's only $10 US to ship it. The shipping is actually cheaper than the book, which is the way it's supposed to be, I think. And it's comparable to what you'd pay domestically to ship a book.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, he's got over 280 backers, closing in on 380 backers, and he's getting ready to ship this thing. He made close to $9,000 on this. And not to toot my horn too much, but I don't know that he would have made that much if the shipping had been the $25 that it normally would have been.
Yeah, like who was in my chat the other week? Oh yeah, Bristolian Dave. Because we would talk. It was during the day, so it was all people from Australia and the UK, and you know a few of us people that were like, you know, in between reading comic books for that day, you know, including myself. And he goes, how I choose whether or not I buy a book is if the book and the shipping are the same price, it's a hard pass, and I won't buy digital.
Yeah, I mean, I've run into a lot of people who only buy digital, but they definitely won't buy the book if the shipping is the same or more. And I can't blame them, but you know, a lot of people didn't have a choice. It was, you know, basically what it boiled down to is that it's cheaper for somebody overseas to send 100 books in one box than it is to send 100 books in 100 boxes. And by doing that and by bringing it directly to me, and then what we do is, you know, I'm going to back it up just a little bit. If somebody wants to use our service, we really want them to talk to us before they launch their campaign. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, after you launch, you've already got your shipping rates in there and they're locked. And we're not helping you the way that we really could. We're going to ask you about your book. We're going to ask you about your tiers. We're going to say, you know, how big is your book? Tell us about your book. And we've had them launch into, well, it's about this and this and, you know, these things. I'm like, no. Post office doesn't care what the story's about. How thick is your book? What are the dimensions on it? What else are you going to be shipping with it? Are you going to be shipping anything that's not media? Because, you know, we have to talk about different rates there. And the very first word in customer is custom. And we have to custom the shipping costs for each of your tiers so that you know what you're going to be putting out. And then we, you know, even give you the wiggle room to adjust when you decide that, oh my God, we funded so high up, we need to throw a stretch goal in there. That's going to increase the weight. Well, we'll have that built in already. We're expecting that weight to happen. Mm-hmm. And it's been fun. Now we're getting ready to all of a sudden, you know, we've done this for 3-4 months now since we've kicked it off. Talked with a lot of people, consulted with a lot of people. Books are starting to arrive, and now it's becoming a real thing. So what we do is when your books arrive here, we don't even open them. We basically contact you, say your box is here. Let's schedule a stream. We get on StreamYard without broadcasting, and I open it right there in front of you. And I'm like, here we go. Yes, they're all in mint condition. Or look, it looks like an elephant sat on them. You saw me open it. It wasn't me. That's my only CYA is that right there. Mm-hmm. And then we know we make sure that what's in the box is what you say is in the box. If you say you sent us 100 books and I count 80, we have a problem. Ideally, we're going to have more, than what you're shipping. And I'll get into that just a little bit later here real soon. But once we've got that figured out, you still haven't sent us any money yet. You just sent us the books. We get the spreadsheet for the Indiegogo. We can also get the spreadsheet for the Kickstarter. We can get them both. If you ran it on both, we just did not the fulfillment, but we helped somebody with their pack lists and their mailing lists to get everything going as a consultancy job on the side for this thing called Florida Man.
Oh yeah.
So the Florida Man stuff came through us, not the books, just the data, because as I said, I'm an IT guy. I'm a database programmer, and when Indiegogo and Kickstarter started throwing add-ons on things, it really complicated the spreadsheets. So I take those spreadsheets in, I merge all that data together into single rows. I throw it into an Access database. I actually throw it into a SQL Server database, which if you're an IT geek, you know what SQL Server is. And then ultimately back into spreadsheets again that our clients can, well, in this case, our client can run it up through whatever mail server they're going to print labels from and send them out. We're going to obviously do it ourselves. We're printing the labels here. But once we get all that data, we're going to look at it and say, how many of this particular set did you make? How many of this particular set? And that's including all the add-ons. We count up all the unique permutations. And then we make one of each. And we weigh it. And we calculate the postage, the exact postage for it. And we say, okay, we got 10 that are going to cost this, 70 that are going to cost this, 20 that are going to cost this. Now send us money. And that's when they send us the money. We print the labels. The labels generate an email to the backer with the tracking number. And it goes out, and they know exactly when it went out and where it is every step of the way, which is something you can't get from an international package. Once it leaves the country of origin, you've lost sight of it. By sending it here, you know when it left our offices and when it's going to arrive on your doorstep.
Yeah, because I just had Mike Jimmy just shipped me out a piece of original art he did for me.
Oh, Legend of Life on Korra.
Life on Korra, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be doing Life on Korra number 4.
Oh, that book looks amazing. He lucked out with that color. He's got to hope that no publisher with deep pockets like sees that work, because they'll go after her in a heartbeat. Because wow, I'm just like,
he does a unique thing with his colors too, because he's got this blue-green sun. So he's like, there's not going to be any reds or yellows in the palette, so remove them.
and I love that. And I was going to originally back the book, and then I heard him mention on one of the many streams he's been on that once he gets to X amount of floppies out, he's going to make a trade. And I'm like, will there be a hardcover? He goes, yeah, that'll cost more to ship. I go, don't care, like hardcovers.
Won't cost that much more to ship if he goes through us.
Yeah.
It'll cost more to print.
Yeah, I mean, I paid him, I think he only charged me like 35 euros.
That's not bad.
And he did a Joker piece because he made a post and he was having some tax issues. And being somebody in the arts and working in that field, plus like a regular job, he used to be able to file a certain thing.
Right.
And after he filed all that, they're like, oh no, sorry, we got rid of that. You owe us more money now. So he's like, well, I need to open up my commissions because I need to get money. So I immediately set up a stream and took him live on a stream. We got a bunch of people in there, and he goes, what should I draw? I go, Joker.
How about Cesar Romero?
I don't have a Caesar yet.
Oh, you're a Joker fan 69 and you don't have a Cesar Romero Joker?
I have one that was supposed to be mailed to me by Sean Howe a couple of weeks ago, and I'll shoot him a message. I'll shoot him a message later on and go, "Hey, dude, how's my package?" He'd be like, "Oh shit." But I've got a couple here. I've got a couple of lots here. I have others around. I actually have Cesar Romero's autograph on
Nice.
on a picture of him from as the Joker. This is a Joker piece from the very first from 2013, from the very first Rhode Island Comic Con by Ken Hunt that used to do some Batman work at DC.
Ooh,
Pencils
that's
only.
a good Joker. Yeah.
And it's staying that way. And this is Alex Cormach, who in 2015, the last comic event that I went to before I ended up in my coma, he was there, and the store hired him to do free sketches for everybody. They weren't expecting as many people as they had show up. And then he was like, and then the manager went over and goes, not one per person, one per family.
Yeah.
And my daughter caved and said, "No, Daddy, let him draw a Joker for you." So he goes, "Well, which Joker?" And I'm like, how about like Jerry Robinson style? And that's what I got.
That's a very cool one too.
So, I've got a couple others around here somewhere in the 2,300 square foot area with stuff piled everywhere. I went nuts digging through my collection, trying to find, because I know I bought the 4 issues that made up the story arc in West Coast Avengers to find that stupid issue 45 so I could sell it while people were still buying it. Never found it. Gave up looking before I get to the very end of the collection, but I got about 100 boxes. So they're kind of like everywhere. But I found most of my Dark Horse Star Wars, and everybody wants to buy them, but they'll go from asking for this issue and this issue from this series to this one, to this one, to that one.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
cherry pick them.
I'm like, well, yeah, but they're not buying anything. You know, they'll be like, well, I want Knights of the Old Republic #1 and Legacy 2 and 5. What do you want for those? I go, well, why don't you make me an offer and don't lowball me, because I'll just block you, because I don't have time for this. And he's like, well, one place is charging $25 for Knights issue 1, and the other place down the street from them is charging $75.
Nice range there. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'd be happy to meet you in the middle.
Yeah. To which point he says, well, why don't I just go to the place down the street to sell it for $25?
I go, well, do you know what condition it's in? Because, you know, mine was never read. I just kind of like bagged and boarded them and put them in there.
Mine are all read. I always read my comics before I put them away.
Well,
I'm very careful with them.
The problem is I didn't make a lot of money. Well, to what I get now, I made a lot of money. But I didn't really, after my bills were paid every month, I didn't have anything but pizza, beer, and ice cream to buy. Well, that and gas. So when I would go in the store and I would see the new arrivals, I would go up to the counter. Let me see what I got. Get a big fat stack of books, and then look, goes, Well, you forgot to give me this. You forgot to give me this. You forgot to give me. Ooh, this looks cool. This looks cool.
Yep.
And it was like going to. It was like going to like a Costco. You know, you. Oh, I'm just going for shampoo and razor blades,
You
and
come back
then
with peanut butter and
three carts later, and $650. You're like, what the? So I never left there like without spending like at least like $2.25.
yeah. I was when I was in college and making no money, I would pay my bills, and then after the bills were paid, and I knew how much gas I needed to get to school and work and back, I was like, okay, the rest of this is grocery and comics. What's the minimal amount I can spend on groceries and survive so I can maximize my comics budget? I ate a lot of ramen noodles.
I was just gonna say.
Macaroni, you could get a box of spiral macaroni and cheese at Cub Food for 19 cents, a pack of hot dogs, and a jar of pickle relish. And you could cut the hot dogs up into your mac and cheese, little beanie weenie sizes, big old tablespoon of pickle relish, and that was good. That lasted a couple of days.
I used to do. I used to get like I had a big skillet. Like, well, I still have it. I had a big skillet like this with the glass top and everything. And I would buy the Purdue chicken starters, like the already pre-cooked, and then they'd sliced up in strips in like the little bags and everything and flavored. I would throw those in the skillet with a couple of packages of like brown rice, and then like vegetables like peas and green beans.
Oh, you're eating way too healthy for me. You were doing gourmet stuff.
And I wouldn't drain the water out of the beans or the peas because the rice would soak it all up.
There you go.
I put it in there and let it all cook up, and in like 20 minutes, a half hour. If I hadn't been and then ended up sitting down and eating a whole pan of it, that would last me for like almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my roommate would buy like a bag of potatoes. I'm like, what are you doing with potatoes? He's like, watch. He'd put it in a Ziploc bag, throw it in the microwave, and pop it out. He'd have baked potato every night with toppings. Like, it's genius. He's like, I'm only paying 50 cents for dinner tonight.
That's crazy. Yeah, because I actually found like a few packs of ramen noodles still here. I can't eat them because I'm diabetic now.
Oh yeah, the salt content would kill you now.
Oh yeah, I'm like I already have to wear leg wraps for swelling and stuff. I'm all my numbers are pretty good, so I'm like,
keep them that way. Yeah.
Nope. When my daughter gets bored, she won't tell me what she's not eating anymore until she gets here. And of course, that's what was bought for her to eat while she's here. Oh, I can't, I would make her like a full breakfast, like egg, sausage, toast, juice, everything. And then like 15 minutes later, she comes back out of her room and she's throwing chicken nuggets in the microwave. At like 10 o'clock. What are you doing? It's 10 o'clock in the morning. You just ate enough for 3 people. It's like, oh, I'm still hungry. So now she's sick of the chicken nuggets, and she can only have like 3 or 4 of them. After that, they don't sit well.
Yeah.
Well, probably because you've been eating like 40 pounds of them a week for like 10 years now.
No, she's in college. She's got that, the sophomore spread is coming upon when the appetite increases.
Oh no, she's only turning 13 next month.
Oh my God. Well, that's a totally different appetite.
Yeah.
My boy just turned 13, and he was like the pickiest eater. Since the day he was born, we had to shove food in his mouth. And now it's like, the fridge is always empty. He's a vacuum cleaner.
She used to try everything, and now she won't try anything. She's convinced herself that she has a texture thing going on. So she won't eat a tomato but she will do anything short of actually drinking a bottle of ketchup. I go, what do you think it is? I goes, yeah, I know, but I don't like the way it's not the same. I don't like the way it feels. You go, I'm like, oh. I go, well, this is real chicken, opposed to the stuff that they put in chicken nuggets. And she's like, well, no.
It's not the pre-chewed chicken.
It's got, yeah, it's not the gizzards. It's got to have the bread stuff on it. I go, and then she'll eat those, and then she'll turn around and she'll make that up, and she'll make like a thing of fries or scalloped potatoes, put like big scoops on the plate, and then build the chicken strips around that. And then she'll put 3 or 4 slices of bread on top of the chicken strips because she's going to go sit down and make sandwiches out of the chicken strips and then eat the potatoes.
Okay. Hey.
I'm like, I go, you know how your father got fat? from sitting down with a loaf of bread, a jar of mustard, and 3 pounds of cheese. She's like, I used to do that. I go, I know.
I've been down this road. I recognize these landmarks.
I already know because, the road map is tattooed on my stomach, not by my choice. So you've been doing this whole thing for a few months. So they're sending you a box of comics the same way Diamond or another distributor would send you a box of comics.
Well, Diamond doesn't send me any comics. Of course, they would send them to like a retailer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm basically being a mini Diamond in more ways than one, Will. Because here's the thing. Once I started this whole international shipping business, I'm very tunnel visioned kind of person, and I had the good fortune of speaking with people who are more broad minded in business than I am. When I showed them my business plan, and I knew they were, because I wanted them to pick it apart and tell me why it wasn't going to work, because it couldn't be right because it looked good, and they verified that it was, and they were of course saying, RJ, why are you thinking so small? And one of the things that they brought up is that when somebody ships you when somebody has 100 books to fulfill, they should send you 150. Which, makes sense because you're going to have returns, you're going to have damages. And why should they send you another box of books to replace those books when, if you've already got them, you can take care of it right there and save them, the reship money.
And then those customers would have to wait X amount of time before they get the books because they're coming from such a long distance. Yeah. Exactly.
But more than that, beyond that, there's another potential. Say I've got, and I'm just going to share this screen here because this is the other thing we're doing. The first 5 customers that we signed on, first 5 clients, they're going to have their Gemini mailers slipped in a plastic bag that will be sealed shut to protect it from getting wet. So this is what the front of the bag is going to look like for the people who get Red Eyes number 2. That's going to be sitting on your doorstep. People who get the Embrace their bag's going to look like that. People who bought the Company Men, that's their bag. I take the logo and their front cover and I mesh things around and design it all up so that, and then, they're getting it for free. Basically so they can say, and it'll become an option afterwards for new clients. I'm like, do you want a bag to protect your Gemini mailer? And do you want it to have your company information on it like that? And then I'll upcharge for that, basically to cover the cost of the bag. But
now, quick question.
Yes.
I saw you had the Embrace.
Yes.
But Michael wrote the Embrace, but the artist is over there. So is it getting printed over there and then sent this way?
No, it's getting printed in America and being sent this way, which is something I wasn't even considering. I've had, and Michael's not the first person to do this, to come and say, hey, we want you to ship our book. And I said, you're in the States. I'm not saving you any money. In fact, it's going to cost you more money to go through me than to do it yourself. And they're like, RJ, you don't understand.
I don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it. This is 3 weeks that I can spend on my next book that I'm not stuffing stuff in boxes. I'm like, well, okay then, let's do it. and I started, doing some of the domestic stuff. I've got, we work through the numbers with some international shippers where it's like, this is what, let's figure out how much it's going to cost you to ship it to me. And then that's the first half. And then we figure out what it's going to take me to ship it to them. And that's the second half. We calculate your number. I'm like, I'm not going to ship it to you. I'm going to print in the US and have the printer deliver it to you. I'm like, oh, and then you're going to break. So they're getting that gets their shipping down even further because they don't have that initial cost of getting it to me that they've got to divide out among the books. So that's, another thing we're doing. Perfectly viable option if you don't have anything like signed books or trading cards or prints that you have to have done local to where you are. So yeah, we are handling domestic shipping, domestic printers. We're handling the internationals. And then we've got this. I'm going to have all these overprints. I'm going to have copies of The Embrace. I'm going to have copies of Red Eyes. I'm going to have copies of the Company Men. At which point will I do this? Trying to stop the sharing here so I do this. I start sending emails to every comic shop in the United States and letting them know what my inventory is, what I have of low print run, crowdfunded, import comics, and how many of them do you want? So that you can get, for your shop, 3 copies of The Embrace, 2 copies of the Company Men, 1 copy of Red Eyes, shipped in one box, not each one in its own box. I'm not Diamond. I don't do that. So you get the shipping reduced down to an a la carte selection of books. There'll be an upcharge on the books because the crowdfunding is over. So you didn't get it crowdfunded. You're gonna have to pay an upcharge. They'll send me the money for the books. I'll send them the books. I send the original money for the books back to the creator. Creator says, I didn't get any more orders. I'm like, yeah, you did. You got them through me. Here's your money for your book. Money you weren't expecting because you didn't know you sold it. And then, I keep the couple of bucks upcharge because it's, out of print. So I'm selling it at higher premium and I make the money on the shipping. That's where we're going to be a mini Diamond. Now we're going to start supplying comic shops. And that's where it's going to really start taking off, I hope. And I know, everyone's talking about like, well, the traditional comic industry failed and that's why we're crowdfunding. We're delivering it directly to the consumer. Yes, that's a great revolution. I love that idea. From the creator to the consumer, direct line. You can't tell me there's not a single one of those guys that wouldn't love to see their book on a shelf next to Batman and Spider-Man anyway.
The problem with that is, look, you brought up earlier the fact that we don't want to go into a local comic shop and have to pay $5 for the new issue of Batman.
Exactly.
But for some unbeknownst reason, we're more than happy to pay $25 for a 48-page book that's crowdfunded.
This is true.
Plus, if it's a U.S. book, plus another $10 shipping.
Yes. But you know what happens? Is that these are low print run books. So when your Cyberfrog word of mouth gets out, or let's not go with Cyberfrog because it's already too well known of a topic, and there's too many of them being sold to be considered low print run.
The originals were low print run.
Exactly. The originals were, the originals were really low print run.
Yeah, I got them. I found them when I was going through boxes.
Oh, you lucky. But Monster MD just delivered. Now people are going to start reading it. They're going to have the books in their hands. Word of mouth is going to get out. Holy crap, my friend got one of these Monster MDs. I didn't. It looks good. Where can I get it? Well, guess what? Stores closed. They're not making any more of them. There was a limited number of them. That's what causes the price to go up. So, the fact that there's It's not your monthly Batman title. It's $5. It's something that's been printed. It's out of print technically, and you're seeking a back issue at a back issue price. So while we don't want to get our monthly mainstream issues at the high price when we're not getting any quality and we're not getting any stories we like, the crowdfunded stuff is more boutique. It's higher end. You know, we're not going to pay $75 for a T-shirt at Walmart that says Gildan in the back of it. We will pay $125 for a T-shirt at Tommy Hilfiger because it's different. It's not the mass market stuff. It's the boutique experience and the uniqueness of the item.
Well, I wouldn't pay that much for a shirt.
Well, I wouldn't either, but yeah, somebody is.
Well, I say that, but you know, being the fat guy, I used to have to pay $50 for the cool T-shirts at Casual Mail. So,
and you wouldn't pay $50 for a T-shirt from Walmart that fit, because it's Walmart. You know, they print those. They make them every month. The basic stuff. That's your Batman. That's your Spider-Man. Nothing special about it.
Not just that, but the 5X shirts at Walmart are actually 3X because they all come from China, and the ones I get in the fat guy store are actually,
well,
you know, the right size.
What in Walmart doesn't come from China? Walmart's phrase isn't made in the USA. It's bringing it home to the USA. Bringing it from where? It's got to be coming from somewhere if they're bringing it home to the USA.
Yeah, the slow boat.
Yes, exactly.
So you're doing fulfillment for people like Michael, who's too lazy to do it himself. That's right, I said it. And
every service industry is made for the people who are too lazy to do whatever that service is themselves.
And man, I know that because man, am I freaking lazy.
McDonald's is made for people who are too lazy to fry up hamburger at home.
Yeah, but at least the hamburger you fry up at home is actually hamburger.
Yes, and we're still too lazy to do it. We would rather eat something that's hamburger-esque.
Yeah, something that you'll find out 3 years from now has been plant-based for like 37 years or something.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's how do you think we got it on a dollar menu? We weren't going to give you like real meat for that. Come on.
We've been 3D printing these things in the back room every night.
Oh man. So you've got a few domestic people, and you're getting more and more international interest.
We're getting more and more. We got people who are contracting with us to come from Canada. We're talking with a team in Mexico. We've talked with more domestic people that are saying, yeah, this book is going to go through you when it's done. I'm like, great, cool. Let's talk about the shipping and get it all set up when you're ready to go. And, you know, if you don't, some people say, well, we don't want to do the whole thing, but we want to get your expertise in putting this stuff together. You know, we do the consulting like we did for Florida Man, where we just did the packing lists. We, you know, got the data. We turned that all into an 800-page packing list of, you know, each page was a unique person, and they were sorted by, you know, each set. So it's like, you know, okay, these first 10 pages are all the same thing. Give that to this guy. These next 30 pages are all the same thing. Give that to this guy. And then it's just like pack, zip, zip, slip, put it in there, close it up, label it, and out. So, you know, so there's a consulting service that's available too. We're just now, you know, criticalblast.com was nothing more than a website to do reviews so that I could get free DVDs and just watch free DVDs and read free comics. And then by virtue of the YouTube channel where we started talking with creators about comics, we grew into Critical Blast Logistics. And at the same time, we grew into Critical Blast Publishing. You know, we're a book publisher. We've got a superhero young adult novel out there and 2 fantasy anthologies that are on the Amazon market under the Critical Blast Publishing umbrella. And because of that,
I saw that, and I went to your specific Twitter page. So like when I you know, I type it in, I click on it, it brings me from, you know, a multiple page directly in front of you, and for no apparent reason, a whole bunch of balloons went up in the air.
That's because today was my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm 54 for, so all the balloons are showing up every time profile gets pulled up.
Woohoo!
Yep. Another trip around the sun.
I'm thrilled because that means you're a couple of years older than me. Yes.
I'm a couple of years older than a lot of people now at this point.
Where's Pops? Like,
I'm probably a little older than Pops even. But because we do the book publishing thing, I've just started announcing another service because I've read I've been backing crowdfunding books for a while, and by virtue of you back, they make, you wait. Now I'm at the point where things are starting to come in all the time. I'm like, oh, I've got actual things in my hands, and I read them, and I have found something else that these crowdfunding folks need: editors. And I've been a professional editor for the past 20 years. First with my work at thetrades.com when I was working there for a good 14 years. And then when they closed up, I'm like, well, I'm not done yet. So I created Critical Blast on my own and started doing the same thing, only now I was paying for the bills. On top of that, we've published these books. I've written books myself that have been published. I'm the writer on the Remo Williams The Destroyer series right now. So I've been around. I've got the cred. I've got I can do editing. So I'm offering editing services. What are the rates? I don't know. How big is your book? We will talk. So if you have a crowdfunded book that you want to have somebody give a once over, I will say this. Here is what happens if you don't get an editor. I had a hardcover book sent to me from Scholastic for review purposes, hardcover graphic novel. And I was reading the thing, and it got to a point in there where I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Was not a spelling error, was not a grammar error. The story quit making sense. I was like, well, this is a weird place to flash forward and then flash back and then flash forward. Oh, no, that's not what's happening at all. These pages are printed out of order. That's not something you're going to get from scanning a Word document for red underlines. So I went back to the publicist. I'm like, these are advanced reader copies, right? Because this is a problem. And they're like, oh, yes, thank you for pointing that out. We will get that fixed. I'm like, oh, good. Then I interview the author. And after the show, he's like, oh, yeah, I got my hardcover of the version here too, right before it goes on sale. I'm like, oh, yeah, was that the ARC copy that had the the pages misprinted? And he looks, he says, oh, that was you. Those were not advanced reader copies. They pulped 40,000 copies of the book because you pointed out that the pages were printed out of order. That an editor who knows graphic novel format and comics would have and should have caught, and somebody lost their job. Wow. So this is why you want an editor who understands comics. I've been reading comics since I was 4 years old. I knew how to read at 4 years old. I didn't tell anybody. I thought everybody could. I didn't know it was something that I was not supposed to be able to do. It wasn't until I was in first grade, Will, that, I'm sitting here, and I've told this story before. I'm sitting in class, and the teacher has the great big cardboard thing up here. It's like 1975, no, 72, 1973. She's holding up the big placard and the big pictures and the great big bold-faced words that are all, easy to read. And she's reading along, and I'm like, okay, let me practice tying my shoes here. Or, what's this crawling up my pant leg here? Oh, look, a bird. And she finally, I look around, she's right in front of me. She's like, would you like to read to the class? Now, I'm 6 years old in first grade. I don't understand sarcasm. Granted, I had a smart mouth on me, but adults didn't do that. So I sat up and I said, plants create energy through a process called photosynthesis, in which they absorb sunlight through cells that produce chlorophyll. Second grade reading class right then. Because they're like, oh, shit, he can read. And I was like, well, yeah, but, all those words, they were in the last Flash comic when he fought the Floronic Man. And Poison Ivy does the same stuff in Gotham City all the because I learned it all from comic books. So I know how to read a comic book, and I know when a comic book is going off the rails or when now misspellings and grammar definitely jump out at me. And we've had some books that have come out from well-known people in the industry, in the crowdfunding industry, that is like every single page had horrible writing mistakes on it, and the guy knows it, and he's going to get an editor. Hopefully it'll be me, but at the time it wasn't something that we were offering. But yeah, they know they're going to get an editor.
Two of the most important things to have when you're making a comic is an editor and a really good letterer.
Oh yeah, lettering is a thankless art. If you do it right, nobody notices it. If you do it wrong, you're horrible at it.
Mm-hmm. Because you never want to skip and be like, well, I'm just going to try to do it myself.
Yeah, no. And don't think you're just going to type it up in some sort of a font that looks comic booky, because that also looks like it got cut and paste right into the word balloon. The perfect editor is the invisible man.
Mm-hmm. And also never use Comic Sans.
Oh God, why did they even call it Comic Sans? It looks nothing like a comic lettering style.
But because it said comic, I would use that font on everything.
Of course. And now it's got a horrible reputation in the industry. Like, don't use Comic Sans. I'm like, can you read the words? Yes, but well then there you go. You rather I use Trebuchet or Times New Roman or and I collect fonts because I do I try to do a video thumbnail card for everybody I interview, and I like to find letters that match the style of their book. So if they've got a scary book, I've got all these different scary fonts. They've got a superhero book, I've got Avengers fonts and Justice League fonts and stuff like that. I have fun with PowerPoint and making stuff. I'm a geek that way. I'm not an artist, but I'm a fairly good art director.
Yeah. I'm actually friends with the guy that created Blambot.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Nate
the lettering
Picos.
software.
Yep. Nate Picos was actually a customer at my local comic shop for years and years, and I worked there on and off. Especially when I was, not putting in that many hours, or, I'd get fired from one of the clubs I was working at, and I'd be like, well, I'm not going to be able to get my job back for about a week.
What were you doing at clubs?
I was a DJ at nudie bars for 30 plus years.
Oh, the fringe benefits. Literally fringe benefits sometimes.
Yeah, it was a dark path, but it paid well.
Yeah. So do you get flashbacks if I do like, our ladies dance for your tips and your tips only, and on stage 3, Alice?
No, because if they weren't good looking enough to get a guy to give them money without me saying anything,
Well, in Arkansas, they don't hire them. They're not employees. So they have to remind people that they dance for your tips and your tips only. They don't get paid by the club to be there.
They don't up here either.
Okay. Don't ask me how I know that.
There's one club I won't. You must have been editing the dinner menus or something.
I was, absolutely. Actually, I interviewed one. I was like, I might have a stripper in the book. I had the lady talking to me for like, an hour, because I'm like, I need to know how this industry works. Why did you get into it? Were you scared the first time? I was freaking interviewing her, and yeah, well, she was getting that too.
It's like $20 in an 8-ball will get you a lot.
Yeah. I wasn't getting any of that. I didn't want that. That's not what I came. I came in for information, and I got
it. It caused me to drink a lot more, and I'm Scotch Irish, so I'll just leave that at that. So Are you an alcoholic? No, I'm a professional. Uh, and, it was just, I mean, until the last place I worked, and I was fired there from like 7 different times, uh, but you weren't considered a real employee unless you got fired at least once. Um, and they're like, well, maybe you can go back and do something. That I go, no, I can't. I go, all the medical problems I have now and all the meds I'm on, like, I never know when my sugar's going to spike and I'm going to, you know. So it's just one of those things. And I
I'm
go,
feeling a little tired here. I better throw on Inagata Davida. Let her dance her legs off.
oh, I couldn't tell you how many times I wanted to punch somebody. Well, I'm getting a $20 lap dance. Can you put on like Inagata Davida or Master of Puppets or something? Like,
American Pie.
no. Why not? I go, are you kidding? They don't want to. They don't want to dance for like 3 minutes. Never mind 30 minutes.
Yeah. Can you put on Zeppelin side 2? Zeppelin 4 side 2?
Oh God. I used to put on
Anything by Yes?
like got the whole album. I was working at a very ghetto place, and all the girls hated me there.
Oh, nice of them.
One,
Okay.
because I was white, and two, because when they pissed me off, I would mix out of a song that they demanded to hear into one of the 12-inch mixes of one of 12 different Village People songs.
Okay.
And if they really ticked me off, they would get Milli Vanilli. And I had that place had every medium possible. I had turntables there, and cassette decks and CD players, and the guy was all right with me. The manager there was like really cool, and he was like, "There's a music store a couple doors down. Go in there, tell him you work here, and anything you want for here that you think will be good, buy, sign for it, give us the receipt, and you're all set." I go, "Okay, works for me."
Yep. Be real nice to you. You're gonna be up there dancing to the wheels on the bus.
Worse. I got one girl who used to scream her head off every Monday night because wrestling would come on and all the guys would go to the bar and watch wrestling and wouldn't pay attention to them.
So all the guys left the girls with no tops on to watch a bunch of guys with no tops on.
Yeah. I think they moved better. And they would get mad and be like, "It's all white guys. White guys have money. They like rock. Play rock music." So I started playing rock music. What they didn't know is I was playing the rock and roll entrance themes to wrestlers.
Oh, jeez. Just reminding them that, hey, the wrestling's on. We need to go watch.
And then the guys would hear and goes, "Oh, that girl's dancing to Triple H's song." And they would go up and give her like $5 and walk back to the bar. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, I'd have too much fun, I think. No, I'd be too self-conscious, I think, too. Like, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the record spin around.
I wish they would always have like lamps in the DJ booth so you could see what you were doing. I'm like, well, once everything went digital, I didn't need the lamps. I would shut everything off. I want to be able to see like the whole room because I gotta know what's going on. If I saw a problem, I'd have to go out and do something.
Oh, you had to bounce?
Well, I'm brown, so I bounce no matter what I do. So but I would have the boss would usually be hanging out in the kitchen, so I'd have to call the kitchen and be like, yeah, you guys might want to get out here, and
I've never seen one of those places yet that was like in the high rent district of town with lots of safety and presence there. It's always been in industrial areas.
Well, yeah, this one's kind of sort of the last one I worked was kind of sort of industrial area, but you go around the corner and you're on the waterfront with all the nightclubs.
Ah, well,
and restaurants, so we're like halfway in between. But it was a lot of fun. So you've got all this stuff going on, plus you're doing like 15 different shows a week or something.
We do at least one show a night. Every other Saturday is anything could happen. I've done Podcast Palooza a couple Saturdays back. We started at 10 o'clock. We did a show an hour for 12 hours with 12 different creators. And it wasn't one 12-hour stream. It was, okay, got to wrap this one up, killed it, started the next one up. So, everybody got their own show. You could, link it out and say, this was my interview right here with a single URL. Not, hey, go here and then fast forward to hour marker 3 and 12. Because it's easier for the creator. And that's what it's, I'm trying to get hours. I'm trying to get watches. I'm trying to get ads. I'm making money is nice, but if I'm not talking to somebody that interests me, then it's no fun. And the people who interest me, I love talking to, and I love pushing their books out. I have books come up that, if it's not funded and I'm interested in that book, then you'll see it in my Twitter and Facebook. I make it my personal project to get this book funded. Did that with Confederate Monster. Did that with Glenn in Monsterland. It was like, I don't know why this book is not getting more and more attention. And what happens invariably, I sit there and I hammer it and I hammer it and I hammer it. And I have them on the show twice. I have them on 3 times. And then they go on Bancroft. And it's like, I've never heard of these guys before. Oh, look, they're funded now. It's like, damn it. I have people say, I have no idea why more people aren't watching RJ's show. He's working so hard on this thing. Like, working is relative concept, but the only good thing about my show is my guests. No one wants to hear me talk, but I do pride myself on being able to ask questions about things that maybe don't come up in your standard interviews.
Yeah, I try to keep mine mostly like obviously I want to get into, and I'll go through like the Kickstarter, but I'll go, scroll slowly through it.
Oh yeah.
And when I see Pops do one, his ADHD kicks in and the screen's going boom, 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 boom. And I'm like,
yeah.
It's like he's trying to catch a mouse. I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
And you when you get a good guest on, it's magic just happens. I mean, you've had the interviews where it's like, we're 20 minutes in and I don't know what else to ask this person. And you ask him, an open question and you get yes. Like, can you elaborate a little? I was like, okay, this is no fun. But then you get somebody on like
Travis. I don't even have to say a last name. You're laughing. You already know who it is.
Yes, I do. But then you get somebody on like an Irene Strakowski, and you don't want to let them go because it's like there's so much energy and fun in there. I've had names are not rolling off my tongue right now. I'm surprised Irene's name rolled off, but I think it was because hers was more recent. Bill Willingham, have him on the show, and it's like you look down and suddenly 3 hours have gone past. And Rich Parada, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I had Brian K. Vaughan came on,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and we were having a grand old time. Not, of course, I'd keep leading back so he could do his typical pulling his books out and promoting, running through his like 30-minute promotion spiel. And then we would just, we were geeking out this, that, or the other thing. Next thing I know, Pops is in the chat yelling at me, "Look at your Facebook messages, would you? I want to come on and ask Brian something." I'm like, oh. And I was just about to cut the stream. We were already at like 2:15. Well, it went for about 4.5 hours.
And as long as the guest is up for it, if you don't close the stream and realize, yeah, he's never coming back, then it's okay.
No, he's like, I had a great time. I'm tired, but I had a great time. I'll definitely come back and do your show, again. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've got some people I need to reach back out to and have them on again. I'm kind of waiting for them to start up a new crowdfunder so that there's something new to talk about. But yeah. And having this kind of a channel, I get to talk to people now that I wouldn't have got to talk to any other way, other than a convention, and those have all been killed. And then you're competing with everybody at the same time for the 3 minutes of conversation you can get.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, I'll go and cover a convention for Outright Geekery, and I only cover the convention for them because free press passes.
Exactly.
And well, they'll allow me in early because I'm in the wheelchair. And before I'd have to have somebody push me because I had nothing but the manual chair, and not many people want that job because like, oh, I got to push a 400-pound butt up this 90-degree ramp that goes for like 3 miles to the next building.
Hey, I've hauled occupied wheelchairs upstairs before, back in the day when ramps weren't a thing.
Oh, isn't it lovely?
Yes.
But I covered Rhode Island Comic-Con back in 2019, and I got in early. They were still doing like final setup things, and I hung out with Neil Adams for about an hour talking to him.
Wow.
Then I hung out like 3 days in a row at different times, talking to Graham Nolan, Bill McKay, Joe Rubenstein.
See, I was going to ask who's the person that you've talked to that made you glad you had this show, but you've already talked to everybody that.
Well, I interviewed Graham like a few different times before I got the cam set up. But I was thrilled to death to meet Neil, and even more thrilled that he was still in a good mood at that time.
Yeah.
I know the stories.
Oh yes. I knew a buddy who took his portfolio for review, and the tears.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know if I can say on your channel the things that he heard back from Mr. Adams, purportedly.
Reportedly, who else was there? Tom Mandrake, and he had the original art from Spectre #1 from back in the 90s behind him.
Oh, cool.
And I was just like drooling.
I've always loved the Spectre, but for my money, the best Spectre was the one during the Aparo years in Adventure Comics.
Mm-hmm.
When Jim Corrigan was also a ghost, not some human host for the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got quite a few of those laying around here somewhere.
I was like, he's a ghost, and he still goes to work as a cop, and he doesn't breathe, but he just changes his look to be the Spectre when he needs to be.
Yeah, it's just the best thing they've done so far with the Spectre was that animated short
Oh yeah.
like about 10 years or so ago. And I'm like, I want more of this. Why can't we have more of this? Well, because it was good, and we're going to go make Batman versus Superman. Okay.
Yep. 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 We're going to do some more Flashpoint Paradox animated stuff.
And we're going to make some more crappy CW shows.
Oh well, they're not 100% crappy anymore. But they've only got the one that's any good. I mean, I used to really love watching The Flash when The Flash was on.
Mm-hmm.
And it only went like 3 seasons. And then they replaced it with some show called Iris and Her Amazing Friends.
Yeah.
But for my money, though, I will never, ever miss. Yeah. We are The Flash. Like, what happened on The Flash? Tonight on The Flash, Barry knows how to solve a problem, but Iris tells him he's wrong. Barry realizes he's wrong.
Barry realizes he's married, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How does he defeat this villain? Same way he defeated the last villain. He talks to their heart. It's the shark has not only been jumped, but hopscotch squares have been drawn across its dorsal fin, and they're going back and forth on them. So put it out of its misery. However, I will not miss an episode of Stargirl if it's anywhere near as good as the last season was.
Oh, no kidding, right?
Yeah, I know it's moving to CW, but it's keeping the same creative team. So let's keep our fingers crossed that the CW taint doesn't get on it for at least a few seasons.
It's moving to CW,
or
are they reversing that and putting it straight up to HBO Max?
No, it's debuting on CW for sure. Unless it's going to go to HBO Max, and then like it did when it was DC, it was like DC, and then the next day was on CW. But that would seem to go against putting it on HBO Max if they did that.
Yeah, they might just do what they used to do with what they have been doing with Netflix, which is, the day after the season wraps, you can binge the whole thing on Netflix. They might just be like, yeah, we've terminated our agreement with Netflix, and it goes right to HBO Max.
Yeah, but see, season 1 of Stargirl was a weekly episode on the CW last season. It was, it would air Tuesday on the DCU streaming services, and then Wednesday following that, it was on CW. Now, that maybe that's why the DC streaming service didn't last, because they didn't do that with Titans, they didn't do that with Doom Patrol, but they did it with Stargirl. And
no, but what they did with Titans was they did a deal with Netflix UK to put Titans on Netflix UK, but wouldn't allow it to go on Netflix out here. But they got a ton of money for show development from Netflix UK to throw into the show, which is where they went right, where they had like all that extra money to make the episodes better.
Yeah. The thing with Titans, though, for me, is that it's going way too slow with the character progressions. I like the fact that there's been a Titans in the past, and they allude to it a lot. But even then, I'd like to see more of them. But Beast Boy, he turns into a tiger. He can turn into more things than just a tiger.
I know.
But all he ever does is a tiger. I'm like, when is he going to discover he can do these? In fact, he turned into a snake in one episode, but he doesn't remember having done it. It was just like, he escaped something and he was knocked out. But the other thing is that they've gotten too realistic, too much realism. In the comics, the New Teen Titans, when he was Changeling, he had the red and white costume on. He would leap at somebody and turn into a gorilla, and then he would, pound them as the gorilla, and then he'd wrap them up as a boa constrictor, and they'd pass out, and he'd slide off of them, and he'd be Changeling again. And you know what? He had his costume on before he leapt, and he had his costume on after he leapt.
Yeah.
Now he's got to duck behind a dumpster and strip naked so he can turn into a tiger.
I don't need to see Space Monkey Gleek naked every episode.
No.
And it's just, that's a little crazy. I like the actor that's playing Dick. I didn't dislike the actress that was playing Corey, but I was like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
That
was the costuming department and the makeup department.
Yeah, this is terrible. Season 2, it got a lot better with her.
Oh yeah, and everyone was like, oh, you just don't like Starfire because you don't like the fact that a black actress is playing her. I'm like, first of all, only a black actress could probably play Starfire and do it justice. And second of all, this is Cutie Pie Sensei. She does cosplay. She's one of our bombshells of the month on criticalblast.com. And she's Starfire, and she looks like she stepped out of a freaking panel.
Mm-hmm.
And she probably didn't have anywhere a 100th of the budget that you guys had for this show.
Yep. I know they are back on set right now filming because they posted stuff up on their social media last week. And of course, my reply was the line that got them in trouble on the news last year when Slade saw them because Robin 2.0 ran in front of the camera and screamed, "Titans are back, bitches!"
Yeah. Yep. That's what caused Slade to go after him. You had to announce it.
Look, it's like 3 years ago. I can't hold the spoiler in that long.
No, well, yeah. Once it's aired, I don't care anymore. What's interesting though is that in season 1, Beast Boy went to the Doom Patrol, and you that was where you first get to meet the Doom Patrol. And then when they did the whole CW Crisis thing, which I thought they cheaped out on, but I still geek out over watching it because of the Easter eggs alone.
I geek out. The aforementioned Gleek at the very end during the roll credits.
Yes,
but more importantly, that Marv Wolfman was there asking the Flash and Supergirl for autographs.
Yes, I love that moment, and all the different worlds they showed. When you see Burt Ward on Earth 66, and you see
Walking Ace.
Yeah, exactly. And who was the guy who played Alexander Knox in the Batman movie?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
On Earth 89, he said, "I hope you're watching, big guy." And I'm 54 today. I was 53 when it happened, and I squealed like a 14-year-old girl when they absolutely held the lid on the fact that they went to Earth 666 and Tom Ellis steps out of the door as Lucifer. I'm like, ah! I can't believe they did that.
Yeah, and Tom Ellis also told Matt Ryan that he wanted to develop a brand new show where it would basically be Matt Ryan as Constantine and him as Lucifer teaming up.
That would have been fun. It would have been fun for an episode. I don't know if a series could hold that.
I think he wanted to develop a Constantine show where he would basically produce and unit direct, and
that would
he would awesome. Guest like a few times. He'd guest. Not for like an entire episode, but he might just like be walking through and just like
Yeah, bring Matt Ryan back to being Constantine and not Super John of the Legends. If there was ever a place where John Constantine did not belong, it is with a bunch of time traveling not superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
That shows the sitcom of the DC universe.
Oh yeah, the first season or two were pretty good, and hell, White Canary is hot. So
Yeah,
and
but
that's pretty much the only reason I was well that and Rory because he's hilarious.
yeah, but they don't use their superpowers any. And in
Nope.
fact, the only one that has any superpowers anymore is Steel, and he might turn into Steel once every third episode.
Hmm.
Like they had the Atom there forever. He never shrunk.
Nope. He just became Superman and left.
Yes, exactly. Which is not a bad trade-off actually.
Yeah, it's like you know we're gonna give you a shot of redemption from that awful movie that everybody hated you in, and
And
okay,
because he was that same Superman. He was the Christopher Reeve Superman in a world where the not Kingdom Come, but well, I guess maybe it was the Kingdom Come universe.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was the Kingdom Come costume. Yeah.
I was starting to think Injustice, but that's not what happened. It was the Kingdom Come universe
Hmm.
version. Uh, but at the end of it, when they brought all the worlds back, and of course, no one in the CW knows yet that the multiverse has been reinstated, which pretty much made the whole crisis moot in the first place if they brought it back that quickly. Uh, but you notice they listed the different Earths that people were on, and that the Titans and the Doom Patrol are on different Earths now. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to play into Beast Boy having been a member of the other team, or if there's two different Doom Patrols now. It's kind of weird.
Well, there's the fact that Doom Patrol's headquarters, that house, is basically like the House of Mystery.
Yeah, especially with all those sex ghosts in it.
Yeah, well.
Doom Patrol is a good show to watch, but it is definitely a weird show and an adult show.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a lot of upplay, but I'm still really mad about the whole Swamp Thing deal.
Oh, you got Blue Devil. You had a live action Blue Devil and
Didn't use them.
yeah, I know, didn't use him. Just one scene you kind of got to see him in, and then he got to leave town. Um, Now I've heard rumors of the fact that Swamp Thing's that first season now is coming to CW for replay, and that it might uh, you know generate a second season through that way. I mean, you can. The last episode had a post credit scene that totally threw everything into cliffhanger land. I mean,
Hmm.
they had Jason Woodrue looking exactly like the Anatomy lesson. I was like, oh, this is going to get good real fast if we can just have a second season. And no, we did not.
No,
Um,
they cut 5 episodes. They cut 5 episodes off
yeah,
because nobody did their paperwork or due diligence, and you know, well, we listened to the politician who told us he had 50 grand, 50 million in tax credits. He goes, no, that's because he didn't realize that they went away at the end of every year when they weren't used. He's been adding them up for 10 years.
uh,
And once they figured that out, they were gonna scrap the entire thing, like right on the spot. And they're like, well, we're almost done, but now we're not gonna do 15 episodes. We're gonna do like, 10 or 9 or whatever it was.
that was
And
good stuff.
it was really good, but they pretty much did almost they did the majority. They cherry picked and did the majority of that whole new 52 run of Swamp Thing.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love them to gotten even deeper into horror though. Bring in Anton Arcane. Uh, do that whole and they were leading up to that too. I mean, Matt Cable
Mm-hmm.
had the car accident and was we know that he's a puppet of Arcane by the end of the thing, but we've never seen him used yet. We've never seen Arcane come back. And the most powerful Arcane scene in the entire Swamp Thing run is when he's dead and his head's being kicked around like a football in hell. And he sees Swamp Thing. He's like, I knew you'd end up here someday. Ha ha ha. How long have I been here? Since yesterday. Like, damn. How many years has it been?
But the production value on that show, that's how every DC show should be.
Oh, yeah.
To that level of, production. Because, well, it costs millions and billions of dollars per episode. No, it doesn't. You overinflate your worth as actors. Your people remembering lines in a script. Half of you aren't acting, you're just being you. You're doing your best Jack Nicholson and just repeating lines that you've learned and moving on the way. You're not really putting anything into the role.
Yeah. And the shows are just becoming full of plot holes, devoid of action, devoid of story that gets told in a compressed method. We had Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'll go back to that. Batwoman, horrible show. Meets Bruce Wayne, Kevin Conroy. He recognizes her. She recognizes him. By virtue of this, we know that Bruce Wayne on Earth 1 is Kevin Conroy. The missing Batman is Kevin Conroy.
Mm-hmm.
New Batwoman season starts up. Tommy Elliott gets facial reconstruction, wears a mask, and impersonates Bruce Wayne. And they buy it. And he looks nothing like Bruce Wayne. Like,
yep.
Wait a minute. I think right away off the bat, the guy who worked for you would say, "You're not Bruce Wayne. You don't even look like Bruce Wayne."
Yeah, it's so terrible. And then random girl just happens to find the Batcave and steals the suit.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, she's not. She won't be around for season 3, I don't think, because Kate Kane is kind of back. And I don't care if I spoil it. She's lost her memory. She thinks she's Cersei Sionis, and her face is burned beyond recognition, which is how they're going to get around her not looking like Ruby Rose when they finally do bring her back. She'll have plastic surgery and she'll have a different look to her, and she'll be, the redheaded Batwoman that's in the comics again.
It'll probably be the sister Alice just playing a double role.
They could do that. Alice has finally figured it out, because Alice, saw her with the mask on that gave her a face, and she looked in her eyes and said, "You're Kate." And we know she's Kate Kane.
Yeah.
Her father would know it, but yeah,
somewhere. That's my answer to everything.
One of the 52, yeah. I forget what issue of 52 it was, but yeah, that's where she first appeared. I've got it somewhere too. I don't know that it ever went up in value. I had the first appearance of Harley Quinn in comics, and it was an animated special, and I sold that sucker. I was like, really? That's worth money? It's going. I got like $350 for it. So
wow,
I was very happy. Yeah, and it's going for 600 and something now. But I got $350 on eBay. I was happy.
If it's graded a lot more than that.
Yeah, I've never graded anything.
I've got some graded books. Like I've got like most guys coming out of the 70s were big Vampirella fans, and we don't know why.
It's good stories.
Oh yeah. Well, the old books were good stories.
They were good stories.
Yeah.
The old Vampirellas, Panthers, Rook.
But I got one of the new miniseries that they did a great job on was, and I loved the way they did the art. They handled the art inside with coloring. Was Vampirella Meets the Reanimator.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
It's really good, and I've got the Lucio Perella Virgin variant of one of the covers.
Oh,
which is dark and amazing, and signed in a 9.8 sitting on my wall.
Nice. I I have only 4 comics that are in glass. They're not graded because they wouldn't have been worth. They might not have been worth the grading value. They were in really good condition. I mean, they weren't beat up or anything, but they would not have been 9.8. But I've got them in museum glass, professionally framed and matted with the tag underneath them showing name and issue number and why it's there. I have Green Lantern number 40. The Alan Scott Hal Jordan ring battle on the front. That is the first mention of Krona and looking back at the creation of the DC universe. So that is the origin of the Crisis right there. I've got that one framed behind glass. I have the I think it's 169 of the Flash, but it's the first appearance of the Reverse Flash. I've got that one in a frame, and then in a double frame with a big mat with 2 cutouts, one for each book. I've got, and again I don't know the numbers, but I've got an issue of Batman and an issue of Detective. One is the first appearance of Betty Kane as Batgirl, and the other is the first appearance of Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, the $1 million debut of Batgirl.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, they're side by side. First Batgirls. Any Batgirl came after doesn't count. That's just a passing of the name at that point.
Oh yeah, it's I've got this one. I just have to move a bunch of stuff to get at it. I did not buy this one. This one was sent as a thank you present from Dustin from the listener.
Oh, that looks cool.
Yeah, he sent me this one as a thank you gift. I guess I was like the first podcast that had him on when he first started doing the first book. I've got a double signed and graded Action Comics 1000. The Art Germ gray line sketch variant.
Yeah.
Of him and Flay. And I've got a triple signed and graded Mexican chromium variant of Detective 880.
That is is that the Jock cover?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got the cover with the Joker's face made up of bats, but I'm like, but is that the one that they're selling, or is there like another version of that one that they're selling?
This was another version of that. This one was from a few years ago, before the Coof.
Yeah.
This was a special variant that was made up, a special Mexican variant that was made up for San Diego Comic-Con.
Because I know that Jock cover by itself is like a highly sought cover now for whatever reason.
Oh, well, it's the Jock cover, and it's an amazing cover for one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the it's like a major key. And now I'm gonna have to,
because I can never figure out what else was special about it. I'm like, okay, I've got the cover. I'm putting it aside. I should probably go through my 30-something long boxes and pull out my autograph stuff to slab them. Maybe they're the ones worth slabbing. I've got Detective 262, first Ra's al Ghul, signed by Denny O'Neil.
I had that, and it was when I first came home from the rehab hospital after being locked up for 3 years, and they hadn't adjusted my Social Security benefits or my food stamps or anything. And man,
sell it off.
Friend who is also like a big collector, and he was also another writer for Outright Geekery. And so if he plans on
You're freezing up.
selling it. That he already knows. Like, if you're ever going to sell that now, make sure you let me make the first offer on it.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was definitely a key issue.
Oh yeah, it is.
I got
Because there's nothing I like better than buying back my own book for more money.
yes, I've done that, been there before. But I've got my black slipcase hardcover Watchmen back in my own possession again.
Yeah, 'cause the version I have, it's 880 is a 9.8. The listing here has 25 sales of just the 9.8 foil edition of 880. And fair market on it is about $150. But mine is triple signed. So then, you add like almost, like another $200 to $300 for their autographs, because these guys are all like, big names. So like, well, we deserve to get more.
And see, I could slab some of my signature books, but the ones I treasure the most, they signed it on the inside, because that was back in the day when, you didn't sign. I had Mindy Newell sign a Catwoman issue, and she's like, "Where do you want me to sign?" I'm like, "Right here on the cover, right across that big full moon." She's like, "On the cover? You want it on the cover?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I want it on the cover," but nobody else wanted it on. You'd take books up, they'd always turn the cover over, write it on the inside on the paper. So I got like Peter David and Dale Keown on some of the Hulks that were done back then, the green foil Hulk cover.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Jim Balance signature on some Catwoman and some tarot. Have had him and Holly on the show twice. They're fun to talk to. They're a great couple.
Nice. I've asked them a couple of times, but it's always been, like, oh, if you would ask me a couple of weeks ago, I could have said yes, but
they're very busy all the time.
There's a secret project coming up that both Holly and I are working on covers for that I can't tell you about, because I go, yeah, I know.
Yeah, they usually, they're probably building up for another Kickstarter. Plus, they do a book every month or every 2 months that they've been. I'm not gonna say they're CG before CG, but they were crowdfunding before crowdfunding without the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing the art, the production, the printing, the shipping, the whole ball of wax is 2 people. So.
Yeah, so my 880 foil is signed by Scott Snyder, Jock, and David Barron.
Ooh, nice. I've only got one thing that's triple signed, and I need to get it in a frame because it is visible. It's a photograph. I have Burt Ward, Yvonne Craig, and Adam West, all signatures, all personalized signatures, across a picture of the 3 of them together with Yvonne sandwiched in the middle from a promo scene. And then I've got Yvonne's signature on. I've got her signature 3 times technically. I've got her signature on just a image of Batgirl where she's spinning in her cape and standing there. Mm-hmm. And then I've got her signature on a note that she sent with one of the photos. Said, "I'm very sorry that that the ink smeared in this one spot, Yvonne Craig." I'm like, I just got another signature here, so I'll keep the note.
She passed before I would have gotten to meet her, and then Adam passed not too long after. I was within like about 10 feet of them, and he actually said hello to me. I can't remember what convention I was at. But I just didn't, like, I'll go out and spend like $300 on comic books, but I'll be like, "Are you going to go meet Batman and Robin?" I go, "Are you kidding? Those 2 guys can't stand each other now." And so they charge you more if you want a picture with them together.
I did not know that there was animosity between them at the time, but
yeah, I guess it's one of those things that like comes and goes.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get Burt Ward on an interview for a while now. Talk about his dog rescue and stuff. Because it's not like he's trying to get away from the Robin image. If you've seen his bags of dog food at Walmart, there's pictures of him as Robin plastered all over it.
Oh God. Well, yeah, he's always, he's written those biographies and stuff. And it's funny because I just snagged in a live auction on Facebook the other week from JJ out in Arizona there from Comic Book Shopping Network. It was the remember the old comic book interview magazine?
Yeah, I remember Comics Interview. David Kraft. We just lost him.
Yeah. It was the episode with the Dark Knight on the cover, so it was basically all Batman stuff. It was an interview with Bill Finger's son.
Ooh.
It was an interview with Jerry Robinson, Frank Miller, and Burt Ward. And they used to put like shadowed bold print at the top of each page to, bring you in to want to read that page. And it would be like a highlight of something that's being talked about on that page. And they highlighted how the Catholic Decency League told Burt Ward they had to redo his costume because he had too much of a bulge.
Yeah, they didn't redo his costume. They put him on pills.
Did they?
They put him on saltpeter.
Oh, poor kid.
Yeah, and he got divorced sometime after that.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, because that's not something you can just undo when the costume comes off.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, no, that's no good.
Yeah, they shrinking. They induced shrinkage. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's no good. You could have just put like an ice pack down there. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, Batman 880. Well, Detective 880 is the first part of the Black Rain storyline, and I think this might be. I'm not sure, but this might be Scott Snyder's first stint on Batman.
Was it?
I'm not sure because it's not really telling me because I have a crappy search engine.
Oh, okay.
Is Detective 880 the most expensive non-key variant in Marden? Well, it actually is a key. That's why it's so much money.
Yeah, I guess it's Detective 880.
Most titles can be shortened to their initials AF. Detective Comics 880. Most titles can be shortened like Amazing Fantasy, ASM, Amazing Spider-Man, but Detective Comics comes to DC. That would be confusing.
That would be very confusing. They used to call it Tech.
Yeah, I call it Tech too, and then I'll type in like on a live auction, he'll have like the new Detective up there, and I'll be like, I've been buying it since 1974. I can't stop now, even though it's shitty.
Yeah,
I'll type in TEC. He goes, "What's TEC?" And like 30 people are typing in Detective, and I'm like,
yeah. If you've been a fan for a little while, you know that. But
this guy's been in comics and owning his own store for 40 years. I'm like, why don't you know this?
Didn't read the letters pages.
Oh, I never read the letter pages.
Oh my God. I go back and I buy back issues of comics. And the first thing I do is I read the letters pages, because what you find every once in a while is the unofficial first comics work of some of today's professionals.
Mm-hmm.
when they were fans and writing letters and critiquing stories and getting printed in the letters pages. Wow.
Well, I have an old. I have two of them, but only one means anything to me really. I have an old Creation Convention black and white flyer, and it is full of original artwork from Michael Joseph Linsner
Ooh, the Dawn guy.
before Crypt of Dawn and all that other stuff he did for Sirius Press came out.
Yeah. So you got some raw stuff.
Yeah, it's it's all just photocopied, and it's all like on newspaper print or something.
But it was published that way, so
yeah, it was published that way, and you had to be at the con to get one. And man, I wanted to get more than one, and they wouldn't give it to me. And I wanted to get more than one because I'm a rockhead, and of course, I'm a big Joker fan, and I like Batman, of course.
Yeah.
So you remember the Motley Crue album Theater of Pain?
Yes.
And the cover was the two masks with the ribbons around them. Happy and sad. He did that on the cover of this flyer, but the happy mask was Joker's face, and of course the sad one was Batman's face.
Comedy and tragedy.
Yep. And I'm like, that's awesome. I probably got this when I was like my late teens, early 20s when we went to the show, and it was Creation Boston, I think. Yeah, it must have been Creation Boston, and Walter Koenig was the special Star Trek guest.
Nice.
I stepped on his foot in the venue. I didn't see him. He's tiny.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 6'2",
and they're crowded.
And they're crowded, so we're bumping up against each other, and I go, "Oh, I'm so sorry." It's okay. I'm just looking to see if I have any action figures yet.
He's looking for action figures of himself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool though when you find the people who are like fans of their own stuff.
Yeah, it's like, well, there's a big joke always going around with people that are in, portraying characters in like, sci-fi or fantasy or anything, any of the superhero stuff, or and it's pretty much, you've made it when you have your own action figure.
That's right.
Until Disney, who I remember when Disney was a family-friendly company back when we were growing up.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
40 years ago.
Long time back.
And now they're like, they're too busy being woke and bowing down to other countries.
China. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And same thing with John Cena. I saw that today. That was cringy. I don't know what was more cringy: the fact that he is fluent in Mandarin, or the fact that he went from ruthless aggression to boot kisser.
I'm typing in. I want to ask Google: is Taiwan a country?
Well, if you're in Google, they're going to tell you no, it's not.
Oh, the BBC says that Taiwan is a self-governed island state, separated from mainland China by the Taiwan Strait. Wait a second. It's almost like they wrote this in haiku. Beijing opposes the suggestion Taiwan is an independent state. Well, independent state is as good as a country to me. So,
Well, that would mean that Hawaii is an independent state.
well, okay, that's a different island state. Literalist. That's a state island. That's totally different.
Oh yeah. It's oh man. A friend of mine who I became friends with because he was a comic nerd. He just retired from 24 years and serving in the Navy.
Ooh.
And his last station was Pearl. So of course when he got his papers and checked out, he bought a house in Hawaii. And now that he's a civilian, he went from being a chief in the Navy to being a civilian worker for the Coast Guard in Hawaii. He goes, it's kind of the same thing, but I get to go home at night.
Yeah.
I go, oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to be a military contractor. My first days of my career in IT. I started off with U.S. Transportation Command right before Desert Storm. They used our software to move people. It was logistics. And I, you would see, master sergeants, colonels retire, and they're like, congratulations, end of your career, enjoy the rest of your life now. And then you'd see them next month in civilian clothes with a lanyard and a badge on. Oh yeah, I'm working with this contracting company now. I'm managing this department. Happened all the time.
I'm going to retire from the service so I can work for the service as a civilian.
Yes, for the contracting company to whom I signed, to on whose contract I approved while I was wearing stars and bars. You guys want this cushy contract? Sure, okay. You were the best bidder. Now I'm going to retire, and you're going to pay me a salary.
So you get your retirement pay and
your paycheck. Yeah, all that happened all the time. I mean, I worked for one of the companies because one contract ended. I had to go somewhere else, and I got told that, hey, this company is hiring, and you should go talk to them. And one of the questions on the application was like, why are you applying it at our company? And I said, because Master Sergeant so and so said that you were hiring and recommended me. And they brought it back and said, okay, yes, that's what happened. No, you can't write that down.
You cannot do that. We cannot have favoritism because somebody knows you.
Yes, we can't say that the guy who was military that just retired that came to work for us as a manager recruited you from the contract you were on to this contract, even though we're taking over that contract and you're doing the same job, and all that's happening is the color of your paycheck changes. Funny stuff.
Yeah, it's like, well, can I write down that I caught your boss with somebody he wasn't supposed to be with?
Nope, I don't think they'd let that either.
No.
Just say, I'm interested in continuing the work on the project I've been on, and I heard that the company was taking over, and I wanted to make my services available to them. I'm like, okay, whatever you might write, I'll take it.
I wandered in randomly and filled out an application, and you asked me to stay.
Yes. Oh, there was so much shenanigans when I was in that business. Not illegal shenanigans, just Dilbert type stuff, but of a military nature.
Mm-hmm.
I spent some time doing software testing, and we had a colonel who was like, how long is it going to take to test this? And we're like, it's going to take about 6 months to do a full regression test on, hundreds of thousands of lines of COBOL code changes. And he's like, no. You've got like 3 weeks. He's like, you can have my secretary if you to help if you want. We're like, what does she know about software testing? Well, you're just pounding on keys. And what was it? It was sort of like, you can bring any drunk off the street out of the gutter to be a software tester, to which, the one guy we all had was our main software tester said, thanks, appreciate it. And then, somebody else said that, you can get a monkey to sit in here and pound keys, and he'd be like, thanks, now I'm a monkey. So I knew a guy who was an independent comic book artist. I'm like, here's what I need. and I had him draw up a poster for the software team lead tester. And it was a chimpanzee sitting in a gutter with a big pot gut and a bottle of rye. And he was just the drunken gutter monkey. And that became our team mascot. It's like, here, all you need to do to test software, any drunken gutter monkey can do it.
See, now I want to get a sketch cover done on somebody's book with a drunken gutter monkey.
Monkeys are the rage right now. It's out of reach now, but I just got the first 4 issues of El Crudo, which is a Manny Shapes book about an orangutan who was dropped in Vietnam with a gun. And there was, and I was like, he was like, and he's part of this, project where these other, other monkey types, the different types of monkeys were all trained to, use guns. And they're just like, it's a Pavlovian kind of experiment. I was like, ooh, it'd be cool if there were like 7 other monkeys. He's like, there are 7 other monkeys. And it's like, really? I was like, so like there's 7 of them, and then El Crudo? You're like, yeah. I'm like, and you didn't call the unit Prime 8? That's like low-hanging fruit, man. That one wrote itself.
Well, it's even worse than that, because of course, obviously, the first thing I think of is, well, yeah, I saw that movie. It came out in 1968.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, monkeys with guns. We know where this goes. That's the first thing I thought when they said scientists have breeded, human DNA with chimpanzee DNA. I'm like, oh no.
That's the bad version of that movie.
Yeah, it's like we're mixing the genes of humans and apes, while at the same time we are putting AI programs into robots to teach them how to fire weaponry. Like, which movie do you want to win?
Speaking of which, I was just watching the original RoboCop earlier today.
Oh, I'll buy that for $1.
Mm-hmm. And it didn't dawn on me till I saw it this time that basically everybody that had like a bit part in there, except for RoboCop and his partner, and the other, except for the cops, the actual cops, everybody else was in on the drug scheme. The I'll buy that for $1 guy.
Yeah,
which I never realized before, because it never clicked until today when I was watching it. Probably because I had my glasses on, I could see what the hell I was watching. But I'm like, man, I haven't seen that in so long. I'm like, oh, this is good.
Watch it with fresh eyes. I want to sit down and watch Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension again sometime. They should put that on Blu-ray.
I've never actually watched that.
Oh, John Lithgow as is in that as John Big Boutte.
I know it was like all the rage, and they're like, oh, it's a big cult movie now. You go, what do you mean they're brainwashing people? He goes, no, I go, oh, you mean like
Eraserhead.
Like Eraserhead, and I just had the name in my head and I forgot. It just went.
Yeah, but yeah, it was like straight out of a comic book, but out of one of the goofy comic books, like The Green Teen, where you had like a guy who was a cowboy, and and a guy who was like a martial artist, just playing up to their stereotypes full tilt. And they were all geniuses in their respective fields, and brought together by, Buckaroo Banzai, who is a rock and roll physicist. Great lines in that one too. I like, remember, no matter where you go, there you are. And he just deadpans the thing. John Lithgow, like, it's not my damn planet, monkey boy.
I think I saw that was on. I think it's off it now, but I think a couple of months ago, that was on Tubi.
Oh, if you ever get a chance to watch it uncut, you've got to. It's a moral imperative, he said, borrowing from Real Genius, another movie which must be watched.
That one I remember.
Yeah.
Which means I probably watched it at some point.
I watched it in college, and I was like, yeah, because my college was nothing but nerds. I mean, if you were not a computer person, you were a double ET person. And we were, the double ET people were dangerous. They were doing stuff with electronics. It was, my buddy was a double ET guy, and we were driving late at night from Chicago to St. Louis, and I would get behind somebody. I'm like, oh, we can't go faster than this person over here. I wish they, and because I was already in the left lane. I'm like, why are they in the fast lane going slow? And there was like this little green light that you could see through their back window. He's like, they have a radar detector. I was like, yeah. He's like, hang on a second. And he's like, I got this 77 Nova bench seat and everything. He's reaching across the back, getting his kit, because he doesn't go anywhere without his kit. And he comes up and he's like, just keep driving. He's like fiddling around with this, fiddling around with that, and he's snipping wires here. And it's like freaking MacGyver episode. And he's like, I need power. And I'm like, he literally undid the power converter. I had a power boost, 77 Nova in 1989, and I had a power booster to the AM/FM radio wired underneath of it. He takes the power wires out of that so that there's these raw power wires coming off my battery, and he's like, okay, twist them onto that. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Twist it on. He's like, okay, and go. And he touches something, and that green light goes red. And the guy puts on his brakes and he slows down. I'm like, what did you do? He's like, we're emitting low frequency radar waves right now. And the whole trip from Chicago to St. Louis, anytime we got behind somebody with a radar detector, because they were really popular at the time, he's like, yeah. And here they go. And they'd pull over and we'd just keep going. I was like, is there any way you can do that in reverse? It's like, stop the radar signal. It's like, it doesn't work that way. But for now, we can get past these people.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So this year, how many indie comics have you gotten read, and want to recommend to anyone?
Crowdfunded? Ooh, that I've actually gotten in, because I just started getting them in. I will definitely recommend Monster MD to anybody. That was one heck of a story, and a lot of fun. Von Klaus is going to be a force to be reckoned with. One, I think, that's flying under the radar because it's on Kickstarter and it's not part of the Indiegogo, and it's not part of the whole bombastic YouTube channel kind of scene, is Miskatonic High, which, if you're a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of stuff, this is the book for you. They have just put out issue number 11.
Wow.
So, they're producing on a 3-month schedule. They had like 5 books done before they crowdfunded the first. So they were being ahead of the game. Is like, we can keep this, they can keep it up the schedule now. So that's another one I would recommend, is Miskatonic High. I think what else came in that I've had the chance to go through. I've had other stuff come in. I haven't read it thoroughly enough yet to say that they should be recommendations, but those two definitely. The Rascals. The Rascals is another one. That's the anthropomorphic punk rock rabbits. Yeah, they're a punk rock band of rabbits. It's kind of a humor book, but kind of an adventure book at the same time. It's drawn in a very cartoonish style, but professionally cartoonish, like good Looney Tunes drawn and cartoonish. Yeah, that kind of style. Well, not as realistic as that, but a good style.
Yeah.
They're a punk band, and they get stuck. Their van stops running. It just stops. No reason why. At a crossroads, and while they're out looking at the engine at the crossroads, and they're musicians, mind you, this red goat appears, and he's like, "Oh, I might be able to help your engine out. What do you say we have a little bit of a contest here? And let's see who the better musician is, since you're musicians and we're at the crossroads." Have you heard this story before? So he plays this song, and it's a good song, and then he's like, "Okay, your turn." And they jump into one of their best numbers, and he knows that he's lost. He's lost. They beat him in the contest. He's like, "You cheated. You're not that good, but you won the contest. So I curse you. I curse you to forever encounter the supernatural until you play a song better than that one." And he's gone, and their van starts. and sure enough, they go to concerts now, and they encounter the supernatural. So they've encountered gremlins in book 1. The second book just came out, which was a Song of the Banshee, where they went to Ireland, and they encountered a banshee. They've not just been cursed to encounter the supernatural, but they've been gifted with things. One of them can see the supernatural. The drummer, who's always hungry, will occasionally roll his eyes back and be possessed by a being of great knowledge. And then he opens his eyes and says, "Oh, I did it again, didn't I?" He can't remember anything that happened. The female lead singer, the female singer, I'm not going to say lead singer, because the lead singer is Tony, and nobody else is going to. Tony's very narcissistic. She's got a purse of infinite holding. It's not only infinite holding, but it's sort of like the Ghostbusters trap. She opens it, and it's like they get sucked in, and she closes the purse. Mm-hmm. But there's more to the purse than that, and she's not letting on what it is. And then Tony, we don't quite know what his ability is yet, and he doesn't want to use it. He's kind of holding it close to the vest. He doesn't like it, but we might have got to see it used in issue number 2 without explanation. So it's a very complicated book. The guys who are working on it, one of them has experience working for Cartoon Network back when they were doing good stuff, and they're possibly they're looking at everything they can do with the Rascals, spelled with a W. So you might see stuff with them. Yeah, WRASKLES.
Rascals.
It's a fun book. It's a fun book. I'm looking back to see if I had anything else. I'm sure I did, but I've been turning Wednesdays into DCBD now. Not in CBD, but DCBD, because there's no end that I want to read anymore. So I hit the dollar bins. It's dollar comic book day when I go, and I'm starting. I'm digging through there, and not only am I finding stuff that reminds me of reading comics back in the 80s and 90s, but now I'm recognizing names. It's like, oh look, Mike S. Miller was working on these books. Oh look, Ryan Wynn was working on these books. I know these guys.
Mike Golden.
Oh, the player on the other side. Wait a second. No, Mike Golden didn't draw that, did he? Who did draw that? I thought it was somebody Golden. It was Mike W. Barr, and dang it.
Maybe it was Mike Golden that did the art.
That is still to this day my favorite Batman story of all time. Batman Special #1, The Player on the Other Side.
Oh yeah, that book's going for some money too.
Yeah, and I can't imagine Well, I mean, they've tried to do it again. They did Prometheus, which didn't count because he's like loading software into his head all the time. That's not the anti-Batman. I'm sorry, but the Batman Who Laughs is not the anti-Batman.
No, but he's cool.
He's cool, but
Judge Death.
if he'd come into a world that was not already suffering Joker fatigue, he might have been even more impactful. But yeah, he's Judge Death. That's all he is, really. They've done not the Wrath, but his Robin. Sort of, they tried to redo the whole story and say, "Oh, he had his own Robin too, and that Robin became the Wrath," and it didn't quite hold the same amount of water. But if DC would really run a villain book, and it be somebody who's the exact opposite of Batman with the exact opposite story, parents killed by cops, dedicated my life to, he'd have to be a Moriarty kind of character.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool.
I just got this.
Oh, that's Kubert, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rock dies. Batman gets it, or I kill you. Yes, that was fantastic. I loved those things where the DC characters would appear in their own books. Like when Flash would stop by the DC offices and say, "I don't know how I got to this world, but I need to get home."
Yeah, I scored a whole bunch of Brave and the Bolds for like $4 a piece, so I was like very happy.
Oh, now you've got the right era of books here to have fun with this. When you open them up, if you've got any of them in sequential order, like not skipping any spaces, don't just read them. Examine the panels. Look for the Easter egg. Do you know what was going on there?
No, I actually haven't gone back and read these. I haven't read these since I was a kid.
Well, here's the thing. When they were doing Brave and the Bold during that era, there was no previews magazine. There was no, direct market where it was like you order 3 months in advance and that 3 months down the line, hey, Batman, Brave and the Bold, this number, it's going to be these two characters, and here's the synopsis of the story. You had no idea what was coming. So you'd have Batman and the Creeper in a Brave and Bold issue, and you would read the story, and they'd be walking out of an alley, and in the corner of the alley would be a trash can, and sticking out of the trash can would be the back half of an arrow, and it would be green, and that was your clue that next issue was going to be Batman and Green Arrow. And then when you had the Batman and Green Arrow issue, there would be a black cat with its back arched and casting a big shadow, and that's how you knew that the next issue was going to be Batman and Catwoman. There was Easter egg in each one that was.
Yeah, I don't have these sequential. I don't think there's like a number in between them or something.
The Green Lantern that was just good reading. One story in one issue. Imagine. Yeah, Wonder Woman.
Another Sergeant Rock.
And sometimes it was time travel, and sometimes they used the Golden Age Batman.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to worry about what happened in the issue before or the issue after. Oh, I loved Firestorm. I loved the baggy sleeved Firestorm that was Ronnie Rand and Martin Stein.
Team up with the Guardians of the Universe. with the Nemesis backup.
Oh, Nemesis was cool.
And then
Batman and Lois Lane. Yeah, I've got that one.
And obviously that's Clark in a Batman costume. And this is just great. This is a Kaluta cover.
Oh, Batman and Swamp Thing. Yes. That is awesome. I've got the Swamp Thing issue where Batman appeared, the Wrightson version.
You said Creeper?
Yep. There he is going against Firefly.
I actually have 2 copies of his first appearance. And I got this one just because I got it for like $1. It's like a color breaking crease all the way down the middle, but it's like a reader copy.
Cool.
But I like adventure comics, but I got some detectives.
The Calculator. Now that was a concept I loved. It was corny as hell, but it was like, once you beat him, he was vaccinated against you. Oh, is that Man Bat?
Yeah.
Oh, man, those were good books. I've got a detective comic somewhere that's underrated right now. Hugo Strange in costume.
Mm-hmm.
But where they first mentioned that Harvey Dent was being taken to Arkham Hospital, it was the first time they named the asylum. Silver Age Luthor. From Space Knight. Where'd you go? Did you go comic shopping today, or did this come in the mail?
These came in the mail from Pride Land Collectibles on Facebook.
Yeah, I had my college roommate was a huge ROM fan,
and I was even more excited because I got a couple of issues. I've been trying to complete my run of Batman Family from the 70s.
Yeah, the big thick ones.
Yeah, and I got that one. I got that one.
I've got that one. Yeah. All those Batgirl and Robin stories. I love those things.
And this is a little beat up, but this is a Whitman version of the Super Friends cartoon comic. And it's a key because it has the origin of the Wonder Twins.
Oh, really? I see that there in the. And is that the Global Guardians are going up against? Oh, those are Elementals.
So. I'm not sure. The 4 Elementals.
Yeah. The Super Friend comics had a lot of good stories in them too. I remember there was one where they were battling what looked like the Universal monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And then they found out that, they weren't the bad guys. They were actually from another planet, and they were the superheroes on their planets. And the Frankenstein character was Superior Man. And then in the North Pole.
An old Whitman Popeye.
Yeah.
And this one, the video game Overwatch from Blizzard.
Right.
This is the comic book that Blizzard scouted and bought from Martin Dunn and Javier Lugo at WonderCon one year, and they bought the rights and the books they had on hand, minus the one in my hand, and created the Overwatch video game. But this one also has an original sketch on the front cover from Javier, and there's the back.
So you're saying that predates the video game?
This predates this is where the video game came from.
So when you said they bought all the ones except the one in your hand, they cleaned his shelf out?
Yeah, well, they did up a deal, and they took everything and that they had with them and went on their way. Plus this book is an error. The printer didn't put in a couple of pages.
Ouch.
So there's like a page 9 missing or something. So it's an error, but I'm like, and it's a number 1. So they of course probably changed the names of all the characters that were in that.
Yeah.
But
page missing printer errors. Those aren't the good errors. I like the printer errors where it's like, covers stuck together. So you got double covers.
Which a few years ago didn't mean anything. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, no.
Yeah, because more than likely you have a very mint cover underneath the first one.
Yeah, it's funny when that happens and you get a well, the top cover is probably a 4.0 at best, but the bottom cover is probably like at least a 9.0.
If you rip the outer cover off, you have a more expensive book.
Yeah, they're like, but for some reason, people are like, of course, there are like Silver Age books that have that
Yeah.
are going, through the roof now. Ooh, double covers because, well, there's a whole new generation of kids that didn't realize that that double cover thing happened a lot.
I used to see, well, I told this story before on my channel too, but I grew up in a very small Midwestern town of Sparta, Illinois. If you're a Silver Age comic book fan, that might mean something to you. But, you'd had to be the kind of reader I was who, I was reading the sides of cereal boxes at breakfast and I was reading the detergent boxes when I was in the bathroom. I had to read all the time. So I would read the indicias of the books. When I was growing up in the 70s and the early 80s, every single comic book in the world came from World Color Press in Sparta, Illinois. So there was no place to buy comics. The direct market didn't exist, and the drugstores there didn't sell them because there was nobody to buy them. Everybody worked at the printing plant, and they brought home overruns. My comic shop was the garage sale circuit. And if you knew somebody who worked there, you were just in nirvana because it was like, what'd you bring home this week? What'd you bring home this week? Here. I would just get, these Silver Age books that were, brand new. They'd be like in stacks in their den or whatever. Tons of books that way. That's how, like I said, it's how I learned to read in kindergarten. My barber was getting them free, and then he'd give them to me when I was going to get my haircut because I wasn't done reading the book yet, and I didn't. It was time to leave.
I'm not done. I'll take it with you. I
Yeah.
got 20 more in the back.
Exactly. I remember probably one of the first ones I was reading in the barbershop was I remember my first Superman comic, and I went out and I've got it. It's in my collection now. He's being stretched through the planet. It's called Protectors of Earth, and he's like being sucked into a black hole, and he's like stretched out hundreds of miles long out of the planet, and he's got a death grip on the U in his own logo, and it's crumbling in his grip, and he's warning the readers, that run or you're going to die. I was like, how's he being stretched out like that and not dead? But he's Superman, and it's a black hole, and it's comic book science. And then the other one that I remember reading in the barbershop that I also have was an Action Comics, and it's Superman. He's flying downward to rescue Barbara Gordon Batgirl, who's falling backwards off of a building, and she's like, "No, don't save me, get the Joker," because he was getting away in a helicopter. And I was like, he's Superman. He can grab you and swoop after that helicopter, no problem. It's like, definitely save me.
The first comic I bought with money that I earned was Detective Comics 447. And it's got Creeper on the cover, kicking Batman as he goes head over this way. And they are apparently at the Gotham City Zoo or something. And Creeper's pulling, as he's kicking him down, he's saying, "Enter the Creeper and exit the Batman. Dead."
Yep.
And he's pulling open the cage on the on the lion walkway. All the lions are coming out, and he's just
I can picture that one in my head. I remember that one. I think the first one I actually bought with money that was my money was New Teen Titans #1 Baxter. And I had to go to a 7-Eleven 30 miles away to find that on a spinner rack.
The Baxter one.
Yes. Now this because there's New Teen Titans that ran for several issues, and this was around the time that the direct market was kicking up, and they were going to start printing in Canada, which is probably why I didn't get it for free. So suddenly there was New Teen Titans #1 again on Baxter printing, Baxter paper. It was probably a Baxter printing press, but it was called the Baxter copies. It allowed the bleed to go all the way to the edge of the page. It had a better, thicker cover, and New Teen Titans, the regular series, transitioned into becoming Tales of the Teen Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And they ran in parallel for a year with new stories in each one. And then as soon as you hit issue 13 of the Baxter New Teen Titans, Tales of the Teen Titans reprinted #1 of the New Teen Titans. So it became a reprint series a year later in the regular print format. So which would be the time that I would have quit buying Tales of the Teen Titans.
Well, if you'll give me a second,
Yeah,
I have something to show you.
Digging in the
I
boxes.
start up my very low-powered Batmobile.
By the way, for those watching, there was a poster of the New Teen Titans that George Perez did with included all of them. It had the big T tower in the background, and it had Terra sitting on a loop. I had that when I was in college. I want that back. Anybody has one for sale, DM me on Twitter @Critical Blast. I'll buy it. We will make a deal on that. I just made an appeal to your viewers. I said back in the day, I had the New Teen Titans poster that George Perez did that had Terra on it, and it's part of the group. And I don't have it, and I want it. So if anybody has it, I will buy it.
Oh, is that the one that has the T with all the characters around it?
Yes.
Oh, that's a huge money piece now.
Yeah, I bet it is.
So these are all prints.
Portfolios?
No, not portfolio. These are just, prints.
Okay.
And top loaders. This top one is double signed by Joe Sinnott from one of the Joe Sinnott inking challenges from Bob Almond, and it was inked by Rusty Gilligan.
Okay.
Of Loki.
Oh, look at that.
It's all Joe Sinnott's blue line work underneath.
That's some nice stuff. I got to get some top loaders for my art. They're all loose.
But I started buying prints, and then I'm like, I have no place to put them. And my friend's like, dude, you have a huge apartment. I go, yeah, but I don't have any way to hang them up. Because I'm a Joker fan.
Yep.
I bought this one signed from Evas.
Nice Hulk.
And yeah, well, it looks like blue.
Yeah.
And of course, because I'm a big Mandalorian fan.
Oh, who did that one?
Evas.
Okay.
Now we come in to the really good stuff. Did you mention Thanos earlier?
I don't think so.
Okay, different podcast. Because I listened to about 19 of them today.
Yeah.
But this is a Jim Starlin piece that he did everything on and then signed.
So he colored it too.
Yep.
That's sweet. That's a double Thanos and a Hulk. Wow.
Then
he's one of the guys I'd love to get on the show. Him and Jim Steranko. I want either one of them.
little Bob Layton.
Oh, is that a repro of the cover?
It's a repro of the cover that he did, and he signed it.
Yeah, I love it when they redraw covers like that. Obviously, you can't get the original art for it, but
And this is what I dug through to find, because this is double signed.
Oh my God! Yeah, that is the number one issue, the Baxter book.
And this print is out of George's personal collection that he takes around with him. I got these from Clan McDowell Comics out in Illinois, and I scored that Teen Titans Baxter print number 1, double signed for $40.
Oh, you got a deal.
And it was even worse for them because they got in a certain amount of prints from like 4 different creators. The 3 I showed there, and an inker that was working on Batman with Scott Snyder. And then after everybody picked out, as they went through and they, took orders online, and they got everything set up, everybody that got that Titans 1 print double signed, they got them, packaged them all up in top loaders. They mailed them to George's house. George signed them. George mailed them back. And then they mailed them to Marv. And Marv signed them and mailed them back.
Those guys know how to treat their fans.
So, I was like so excited to see that. I was like, yes. And in the meantime, somewhere in this pile over here, I found a New Teen Titans issue 13. It was like an all-white cover with the classic team. Dick was still Robin and everything coming out.
Yeah.
And it got signed. Got signed by Marv years ago back at Wizard World, Philly.
Oh, back when Wizard Worlds still had comic book people come to them.
Still had comic book people come to them, and they weren't charging like $50 to sign a comic book.
Yeah. Yeah, I go to Wizard. I used to go to Chicago Comic Con and just oh shoot. Let me pull up Chicago Comic Con 1989. Bum 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 bum. Yeah, that'll work. That's me in the purple.
That's you as Joker?
Yes. I was one. Nobody was cosplaying back in those days. But Spencer's Gifts was selling the hat, and it was a branded Batman the movie hat for Jack Nicholson's Joker character. I'm like, well, now all I need is the rest of the suit, which they didn't sell. So I made the suit out of a white suit that I dyed purple. I had the purple silk scarf and an orange shirt I picked up at Goodwill, and the white magician's gloves, which also went through the same wash that did the suit. I had green hairspray in the hair, but much the same way that Cesar Romero's hair would not show up green, my brown hair did not hold green color all that well, so that didn't quite work out the same way. But yeah, I'm there with Dick Giordano and Denny O'Neil. Just walked up to the table. Can we get a picture? Yeah, sure. And Dick just leans right in because I'm with the Joker. I've got more pictures from this convention that aren't scanned. I don't know where they are. They're in an album somewhere. They had this chair in the foyer of the hotel where the convention was being held. And I was there with my buddy, and I'm like, oh, I've got to sit here, take a picture of the chair. Because that's the same kind of chair that you first see the Joker in his first appearance in Batman #1. He's sitting at that high back chair, and he's got his fingers steepled up. And while I'm doing this, like I said, nobody cosplayed in those days. So if you were in a costume, you were generally a booth babe, or you were one of the heroes that was with Marvel or DC. And with this year, it was Marvel. There was a Spider-Man there that Marvel had. So people just assumed that I was with one of the companies, and they'd bring their kids up and say, hey, how much for a picture? Like, just take the picture. Just sit here. So I had kids standing next to me, and their parents were taking pictures. And like, I had no idea I had a money-making opportunity here. I should have started charging. But this was, Legends of the Stargrazers. These were the booth babes that were dressed up as those characters. They were wandering around, so I got that shot. And then, one of the other ones was, she was there. You can just like junk on the floor here from all the different stands that were coming down. Like, it was like, what? Ah, look at that. I have a question annual that I had just picked up, and it was on top of my duffel bag down there. So, okay, that was conventions in '89 when, it's like DC was there, Marvel was there, Archie was there. If you publish comics, you were at the convention. Now I go to Wizard World, and it's a flea market of people who have done covers for Zenoscope, and also who sell T-shirts. And like, I go there, I set up my table, I sell my books. I try to do interviews with people. I interview the celebrities that show up. I had a nice video interview with Butch Patrick. He was there with the Monstermobile and the Dragula. But I can't just go up to DC anymore. I just can't go up to Marvel anymore and talk about comics and I don't know. I miss those days back when it was all about fans. We need a comic convention now that's just the independent people who care about meeting their fans and building a rapport with them.
Oh yeah. Well, Jesse James went and hit the road for about 3 or 4 days last week, like over the weekend. Bought a collection of 80 long boxes. The first time back in the store, the first show he did, everything was all like 80s and 90s indie stuff. There were a couple of others, and I spent way more money than I wanted to, but I got an Elementals #1, the naughty cover. Remember the naughty cover?
No.
Naked Fathom swimming with a dolphin.
I missed that one. Is that something that slipped past the censor, or they did it intentional, or?
They did it intentional, and I don't know how they did it. It was like a side profile of her like underwater swimming with a dolphin.
I was not a huge Elementals reader when it came out, and it didn't strike me that Michael Turner's Fathom was Elementals Fathom.
It is?
I believe so.
I didn't think it was.
It could be.
Michael's Fathom is blue, and the original Fathom from Elementals is green.
Yeah, I'm just going off of something that Bill Willingham said on our show one time. He's like, bringing the Elementals back, they're all out there in different versions now. And he mentioned the different Elementals that were in different books. I thought he mentioned Fathom. Now it could, different version completely, but again, she's a water elemental. Or she's a water character. I just looked up Elementals #1 naughty cover, and I'm not finding anything. That's okay. Maybe I should look up variant cover. Oh, that's okay. So there's apparently the Elementals sex special. Way to go, Bill. I will not share that and have your channel struck.
Yeah, so I got that, and I also grabbed a really nice near mint copy of Cherry Pop Tot #3.
Oh, I found it. I found it. She's covering her boob with her hand,
Yeah,
and she's not just swimming with a dolphin. He's kind of facing her, and she's facing him. She's not on his back.
yeah, it's kind of a. Mm-hmm.
Dolphin looks happy.
Which
The
one
dolphin
will
looks happy.
squeal first?
Yeah, they both look happy.
I got another full series run of indie called Lost Worlds. And he was asking $20 for it. I go, hey, would you take 15 for that? Because that one kind of caught my eye. Yeah, I'll do that.
My Holy Grail comic at this point, at one point I was collecting. I was so deep into Teen Titans that I was like, I'm going to get every appearance of the Teen Titans, even their solo stuff. So, every appearance of Speedy and every appearance of Robin, and I'm like, oh wait, that might be a bit much. But I did have all the way back to Brave and Bold 54, when it wasn't even Teen Titans. It was just Robin, Kid Flash, and Aqualad. Mm-hmm. So I had those. But my Holy Grail comic at that time, and I would probably still get it if I had the money, is House of Secrets 92, an original. And I recently learned something about that book. Michael Kaluta cover. You can probably see it in your head. You know what the book looks like.
Oh yeah.
Do you know who the woman was?
I've heard this story before.
Yeah.
But I always forget who.
Yeah, the woman brushing her hair is Louise Simonson. And Michael just used her as a model for drawing the picture. But yeah, that's just straight up her. I only heard that a couple of months ago when Louise and Walter were on somebody's channel and talking about it. I was like, oh, that is cool.
Yeah, man. I bought the facsimile of that when it came out a few months ago.
Oh yeah. I bought the facsimile of that when it came out with the silver border way back when.
I probably still have that because I've come across like a bunch of them. Because DC did the
Millennium copies.
Did the Millennium copies with like the fake silver stamp seal on them.
Yep.
And Marvel had like a totally different look where it was like this big gray border around, and they would shrink the cover down on the middle. So what did I just come across? I came across Marvel's first reprint of Ghost Rider, first appearance, and like one or two others.
I got some Marvel. I'm not a huge Marvel reader, never was, but the issues I've got. My wife worked at a comic shop in North Carolina, and it wasn't being run the best, but it got her out of the house, and the guy paid her in comics, and all she wanted was something to do. So he'd be like, $25 in comics every day you work here. And all he had was back issues. And he didn't track anything. And she would be like, some of these don't have prices on them. A cover. Okay. So I've got like some single digit Silver Surfers.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's apparently, and Overstreet still lists it this way. Silver Surfer, I want to say 13, first appearance of Doomsday.
That's wrong.
And the cover of Silver Surfer is the coming of the Doomsday Man. And he's emerging from the street, and he's wearing green bandages with gray goggles. And he's got bone protrusions. Yeah.
Wow.
So if you've got that one, take a look at it. But it's interesting.
No, I wasn't buying Surfer way back then. I collected it here and there uh, over the years. I just found like a 4-issue like story arc run that I read uh, about a week or so ago, and it was entertaining, but it was entertaining because I could tell how bad the book was failing because anyone and everyone guest starred in these 4 issues.
Oh boy.
It's the Fantastic Four, but it's after the death of Reed Richards. So Sue, of course, is a mess. So the Fantastic Four is just the dynamic duo of Ben and Johnny.
Yeah.
And something has happened and he needs help. But, going down the line, like the end of the third and through the fourth part, you get the Incredible Hulk, but it's Smart Hulk from the Pantheon from when.
Oh yeah, that I was not a fan of the Pantheon series, and I love Peter David's Hulk, but that was not one of them. I was reading Marvel for a period there, different periods rather. I was still always rather be reading DC, but when I was a kid and Secret Wars started up, I bought all the Secret Wars episodes that came out, and I thought they did a really cool job of how they handled that because it was like everybody's issue just kind of ended with them being sucked into the Beyonders world. You're like, wow, everything this month, everybody just disappeared into this thing. Something's happening. And then Secret Wars #1 came out. And then it was going to be 12 issues before they get back home. But that same month, their next book came out and they're coming out of the warp. And here comes Spider-Man out with a black costume. And here comes Fantastic Four out without the thing. And you're like, what happened? Well, now I've got to read all 12 issues to find out how we got from here to there.
Well, we want to talk about.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah. That's the Millennium stuff.
Yeah. Well, man, if I had the original, I'd be selling that thing right now. So some more stuff that I bought is
Star-Lord.
And the reason I did this is because you said Secret Wars.
Oh, look at you. Are those the original ones?
Yes, these are the original ones. There's another one over there because that one's part of the actual set. I didn't think I had these, so. Oh, nice.
That's me at 17. That's a photo from my yearbook. Yeah, there's you can see the new Teen Titans #1 Baxter print behind me there, and then all the Secret Wars books, all the Barry Windsor Smith Machine Mans, New Teen Titans Annuals 1 and 2, Iceman, the 4-issue miniseries, Spider-Man and the X-Men in Marvel Team Up, which I think was like the last issue of Marvel Team Up.
Yep.
And the anniversary issue of the New Teen Titans, which was the wedding of Donna Troy. All the key issues were on my wall there.
I did the same thing where I resized the bag up a little bit,
Yeah.
so I could stick push pins through them, and I stuck them up all on my wall.
Yep, that's what I did. I rolled it up a little bit to where I had, an overlap and thumbtacked right through it.
Here's an original piece of art from Matt Wagner that he did for his friend Dan for a possible Tootsie Roll ad.
Oh, it's Captain Tootsie. That's cool. He became a a Savage Dragon character.
Mm-hmm. I found this.
Iron Fist. Back that probably had Fu Manchu in it as a villain too.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Hey, William. Somebody's in the chat saying hi.
Hey, it's William. Hey, Sam.
We're sitting here talking comics.
Yep.
We've been doing it for almost 3 hours now.
Yeah, it's about time we ended this.
I do have work in the morning, so.
But yeah, I didn't even realize I had like a full set of Secret Wars with another number 8 in it. I also don't remember buying 3 first appearances of Dr. Aphra, but I've got those too. I sniped those 3 number 8s off of eBay at like 2:30, 3, 4, and 5 o'clock in the morning, something like that. One of them I paid like $35 for.
They got a good deal. You can't have too many copies of the first appearance of basically Venom.
And the other 2 I got for like $20 a piece.
Oh, steal. You should go to jail for something like that.
Yeah, don't say that. That's mean. I'm already crippled. What am I gonna do?
Yeah. I'll tell you my last signature story for the night, and then I'm gonna go to bed. And this is a signature I don't have and didn't get. So I was I forget where was I working? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But anyway, I was on a business trip to Chicago for a class, and I took my wife with me. And I was like, while we're here, we're going to go to this mall, which is only 5 miles away, because there's a Warner Brothers store there. And yes, I'm going to buy something. I know exactly what I'm going to buy. I'm going to go in. I'm going to buy a plate. I'm going to get me another Alex Ross plate. I had the Alex Ross Justice League plate where they were standing in a circle. Okay.
It's right over there.
My brother from another mother. And we get to the mall, and it's drizzling, and it's cold, and she doesn't want to get out. And she's like, can we just go back to the hotel? I'm cold. I'm tired. I don't feel good. And it was an outdoor kind of mall. You couldn't just walk right in the entrance and then be in. You had to walk like under this overpass and then around another building, and then you went into the Warner Brothers store. I was like, okay, but tomorrow before we leave, I'm coming back. She's like, fine. Tomorrow, sunny day, nice weather. I walk into the Warner Brothers store. We're in there. And they're like, can I help you with something? I'm like, yeah, I want to get one of those Alex Ross plates. I want the Teen Titans, because he did this one with the younger version of Teen Titans on it. And I'm like, yeah, we'll be, what's your name? Like, oh, my name's RJ Carter. I'm like, all right, we'll be right back. And I'm waiting, and I'm looking around, and I'm waiting, and I'm looking around, and I'm waiting. And she comes back. She's like, we can't find your plate. Like, oh, you don't have any of the Teen Titan plates? Oh, yeah, we had a whole bunch of stuff over there. Like, I'm not following. She's like, were you here yesterday? I'm like, no. Oh, we thought you were here when Alex was in the store signing them.
Oh!
And I looked at her and stared daggers, and I got a plate, and I got a Poison Ivy statue, and I got all kinds of good stuff because I was I was not a happy person. I had to be made happy. And I have not forgotten that to this day.
I've got I've got 3 of his plates. I ordered the Spider-Man plates that he did from Marvel, and every time they were supposed to come in the night before, Diamond would cancel the order. They'd relist them, we'd reorder them, they'd cancel the order.
What were they doing?
They were allocating them
Oh,
because they were doing the same thing with bags, boards, boxes, any kinds of supplies. Because Next Planet Over was in the same building with them.
yeah.
They were right next door. And if Next Planet Over said, we don't have any of these sold right now, but in case we do, we'd like to have them on hand and not have to, call you and be like, do you have any of these?
Yeah. Well,
So
that's the
they would just take shit. And I'm like,
that was
well,
the same thing with Midtown Comics being a distributor for comic books for DC. Retailers worried, hey, they're our competitors. How can they be a distributor? And sure enough, they would fill their own orders first.
Of course. I had the Green Lantern plate.
Ooh, very nice. I want to get the Christmas plate.
Which Christmas plate?
The one with Batman looking in the window and Superman trimming the tree and, beckoning him to come on in, join the party.
Okay, I don't have that one. I do have a Superman Alex Ross holiday plate where it's him flying Lois around in a snowstorm in Metropolis.
I haven't seen that one either. But yeah, this was a whole Justice League. They were all inside, keeping warm, opening presents, drinking cocoa, and Batman's just looking outside.
I have the Batman family in the cave.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah, that's a nice one. But I gave my Justice League plate to a friend of mine for his birthday because he was a very big Justice League fan, and he would. I knew he would take good care of it, and went to a good home. And I wasn't displaying them anymore because my stuff sat in boxes in a basement for years. And I'm like, when I finally got a basement of, that was halfway furnished and had bookshelves, I'm like, this is my section of the house. It's mine. I'm going to do podcasts here. I'm going to put my stuff up here, and I got everything out of the boxes. And now it's all boxed up again because I'm moving. So, but for a short, brief, glorious time, and it was like, it was a time of joy and a time of anger, because all the boxes got emptied, and there were things missing. And they weren't huge things, but they were my things. I had a stack, I want to say it was about 12, maybe it was 15, of postcards of the DC heroes drawn by George Perez, one per card.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had those. And I had an extra one with Vigilante on it as well.
Oh man!
So I had those. I still contend that they're in the house somewhere in a photo album. I think she took them out and she put them under the little plastic plate laying tray. I'm hoping that's the case. And I also had the DC Heroes role-playing game book, and in addition to that, I had the Justice League and the New Teen Titans. Yeah, it wasn't that one, but I did have
This is just one of the
one of the mods.
One of the mods. I bought like a few of them off of people when they were like cheap enough.
Yeah, I had the base system, and I had these boxes of pewter figures for the Justice League and the New Teen Titans, and I had been painting them and storing them, in.
I had the New Teen Titans.
Yeah.
I attempted to paint them and then threw fits instead of punching holes in the walls because I don't have an artistic bone in my whole.
It was hard. I would take toothpicks and I would wet the tip of them and I would mash them down into something flat, and then I would wet them again to keep them soft, and I used that for paintbrushes to get into the little details, and then the pointy ones were like dotting eyes and stuff with that.
Yeah, but I don't have patience for any of that shit.
I wasn't very good at it, but I did my best.
Mayfair Games.
Yes, it was Mayfair.
But all right, well, I want to thank you for hanging out and
Hey, it's been fun. I love sitting around talking comics.
telling talking comics and telling me all about that awesome new venture. Save me one of Michael's books. I didn't have money while he was up in funding.
Well, we'll have extras. I'm sure we better have extras. That's the plan. So, yeah. Once we got overstock, we'll let you know.
Okay.
You'll get taken care of.
Coolness. So, thank you very much. I'm gonna end this, and then I will start downloading the audio version and the video version, and I will put those up tomorrow on both Rumble and my podcast platform.
All right.
So good night, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.